So yeah, making coffee, waiting for Kat to get here. It's been such a long time. It's been a month, like a full-on. Hey, Joe. I have kind of been AWOL too. No worries. It's nice to see you. It's nice to catch you because this is the first one I've done in a month because the wonderful cat who's doing the readings for me was on vacation. So this is the first time we've managed to get it together in a whole month anyway. How have you been? Oh, we gotta go keep this out in the yard. I'll introduce you guys to the puppy later. We got a puppy. Oh my gosh. Nice to see you too. Nice to see you too. Happy Thanksgiving in advance. I was just saying how I had to get to a Thanksgiving thing at my kid's school today, so that's why we're a little late. Busy but good. That's good. That's good. Busy's good, right? Busy's good. It beats having nothing, right? Which sounds like a false dichotomy, but I don't know. To me, it feels like those are your choices in life. Overscheduled or underscheduled? Ooh, Cat's here. Hooray! Goody, goody, goody. Okay. Hey, hey, hey.
Hey. How's it going?
Joe. Oh, not bad. What is it, honey? Uh-huh. You're getting bored playing with a puppy? Okay.
That's nice.
Yeah, right, exactly. If you want to bring him in the house and put on a movie, you can do that. Wait until you see this dog.
Oh, did you get a new dog?
Oh my God. The neighborhood stray had puppies right behind our fence. So.
Oh, hello, Joe Spring.
Yeah, Joe says, thanks, I'm enjoying all the Epstein stuff. Destroying Trump's sense of self slowly but fairly because the memes have been fired. Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. I'm actually frustrated with how he's the only one anybody wants to talk about. That's frustrating.
I think it's good in the fact of, for the point of, this is really going to tear his base.
Yeah. I'm sorry. One more time.
Why are you vertical?
I'm always vertical. Oh, because in order to share the stream with Kat, it won't let me go horizontal. It won't let me do that.
I'm sure there's a way, but we haven't figured it out.
When I try to do it that way, it doesn't give me the toggle to share it.
Huh. That's so weird.
It is weird because to me that makes sense. You know, like you could have a wider screen and have us each have half of it.
I know, right?
What the heck do I know, right? I don't know anything.
Why the stream weird? I don't. It just is. As I was saying before, I think it's good in the fact, even if it's annoying, it's good in the fact that people are still on it to the point where they're at least have some standards of what, at least some of them in the base, in their little, that base. Some of them are just like saying, like, because it's really fast for a president to be so hated so quickly. This is
I'm so relieved.
It's in like the polls are saying like in the 80s or like percentile range where they're just so not okay.
And that's my main emotion about that is relief.
Yeah, right. And because there's been so much heavy propaganda too to keep it going, right? And it's just not working.
Right. And it's so, so we're not going to have to live through the next several years of the world pretending this is all great. Oh, thank goodness.
Well, at least the United States. The world, I don't think it's ever pretended.
Okay, I mean the space outside of my head.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Sorry, I was being a little more general, a little more poetic with that. No, you're right, though.
Yeah. Just so you know, I take things literally.
I'm sorry. I am sorry. And I'm a writer. I tend to speak in metaphors. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
See, and that's the difference with me. I'm very literal. Usually, I'm just there's some talking cross purposes a lot of time with other people because I will take you literally. Yeah. And I'm someone who that it's probably so, yeah. Yeah. It's just how I am. For the most part. Yeah, basically. Even if it gets me in trouble sometimes, I do. It's very blunt. But yeah.
The introductions. Let me introduce you to this.
Oh my god, it's so small.
Yeah.
Look at Poppy. Oh,
Yeah.
Poppy.
Hey, I'm gonna try to hop back, but I'm gonna run and do something real quick. I'm waiting on me. Okay, Joe. I'm waiting on me too. You know what? Every day.
Yeah, well, it's probably a typo, but we get you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love puppies to look at from afar. I could never be a pup mom or a dog mom.
This is my first
Yeah.
run.
Yeah, I'm a cat person myself. Trying new things. Cute. Well, the thing with I just don't like the neediness of dogs. Like it's too much.
Yeah. No, yeah. I completely. Yeah.
And cats, whether or not people think this is true, it
play
is.
with the
Cats
puppy.
are needy enough. Trust me, especially when they get older. They
Oh,
want
yeah.
you to sit, and they want you to let them on your lap, and they don't want you to move.
Right. Yeah. No, and I'm having trouble with. I don't know if it's ADD because the more I learn about ADHD, the less I think I have it, honestly. But
I personally don't believe in ADHD. So, yeah, that's I think would be normal. Sorry, I'm cutting out, aren't I? Yeah, I'm trying to get as closer to over this way as possible so that I'd stop doing that. But it's not seeming to be working too well today. Wonder if I can zoom in. Oh, I can zoom in. Oh, that's good.
yeah, I'm sorry. Oh shit.
Hello?
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 Hi. Okay. I'm back.
Oh gosh. Okay. What do you mean he doesn't want to play with you, buddy? And he's in here eating something. Nope, not food. Sorry. Apparently today's the dog stream. Where is the towel? Great. Go find it. That's his toy. Play with him with that. Bop him in the face with it. Gently. My goodness.
So I'm just trying to get this all worked out. Fine.
No, yeah, same. Just trying to get some coffee, and I'm gonna go sit. Wait, put it back. Put it back. Put it back. Look at that. Look at this.
So cute.
The two of them. Oh, look at
that. They're both really hairy.
She says you're both really hairy.
Yeah, it's not liable, it's true.
The dog's not as gray as he is, he says. Did you catch that?
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, besides, I wouldn't take that really as much of as a dig anyways, because considering I'm probably like one of the most hairy women out there.
Well, we don't know that because we can't see it.
Yeah, we'll let you know right now.
Okay.
I'm not one of those shave leggers or
Yeah. Well, good for you.
Yeah.
I don't shave either. I'm just naturally hairless.
I actually don't have a lot of hair, especially on my legs, for somebody who does not shave ever.
Right. Yeah, same. Right. Are you fair haired too?
No, funnily enough, I'm like I do have to make sure to trim my armpit hair because that grows like a beast. Like, I don't know why. Like, and if I don't want to get it entangled with itself and like get a fucking nest going, I have to trim it. But that's just upkeep. That's not like the shave. Just some personal information if anybody out there really gives a shit. I guess now you know. Yeah. No, but it's something. You never know if it inspires someone else that does actually watch it and can have like some better.
Well, and we're trying to build something so that we can have more of a cultural impact. And like, I don't know, this moment is so interesting. At this point, I'm starting to get scared. I need to get my damn book done before the moment passes. Holy shit!
Right. I love how time just slips away on you. That's how I feel.
No, I mean, I'm working on it, and like I have my next 2 chapters planned, or my next 2 scenes planned out. The whole 2 chapters. Okay, I got the scenes sketched out. I mean, like I have like an outline of what I'm going to write, you know?
Yeah.
And then I have the next 2 chapters, all scene, you know, all planned out.
Yeah.
And like the whole thing is mostly planned out. But I know I'm going to end up adding things and filling in some stuff here and there.
Yeah. I just meant for everyday things. It does feel to me, anyways, the older you get, like, time goes by so fucking fast. I can't keep up.
Yeah. No, yeah, there is that. The telescoping effect. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm so busy. I can't tell if it's that or just that I'm not busy.
Oh, okay.
But on the other hand, I do feel like I do a lot. So I don't know how much it accomplishes, but
I did have fun on my vacation, by the way.
Oh my God, yes. I'm sorry. How did that go?
It was really well.
Awesome.
Yeah, I spent some time in Halifax. I went to Piggy's Cove one day. The rest of, like, one half was in Halifax. The other was in on Cape Breton.
Okay.
And I was able to get, for one day, I only had an hour time to go there, but I was able to go to Scott's Bay at the Bay of Fundy in Nova Scotia. Now, you probably that means nothing to you, but that is a world-renowned famous place for agates on the beach.
Oh, you and your crystals. Yeah, cool.
So I went there. I only had an hour. I found 72 agates. They're everywhere, littered there. Yeah.
Wow.
It's world renowned. Like, it's a famous place to go find agates. Like, they're everywhere. Just yeah. So
were they all different kinds?
72. What?
They all different kinds, or?
Well, some of them are the same kinds, but like there's different kinds there. Yes, you can also find amethyst and fossils and a bunch of just different stuff.
That's cool. Is it like
There's
some
actually a place that near there called Amethyst Cove because there's caves there full of amethyst.
Nice. So, did you get you some amethyst? You probably haven't.
No, I didn't get to Amethyst Cove because it was Bay of Fundy is pretty big, so there's different spots you can go to. I only went to Scott's Bay, which is like a particular area. So I only had an hour there at most, unfortunately, because like it's so far out of the way from Halifax and Cape Breton. It takes a whole day to get there. So I only had an hour, and then you have to consider in the tide. If the whole tide is in, you can't get there, right? So I only had an hour to look around, but like in that hour, yeah, I found 72 different keepers that I kept. So I brought that back, and I'm tumbling them, and yeah, some are small, some are big. Like some are like really dinky, like this little tiny, like size like about this round. Then some I have like are this big, right around. So yeah, big enough. Yeah, you can find like huge ones there though. If I had more time, if I had a few days, oh my god, I might just go back to Nova Scotia just to go to that place and stay there day after day doing some rock hounding.
Oh, that's like when we were looking for shells on the beach. That was so much fun.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I also didn't get to a place called what's that, Iona, because that place is known to have a howlite.
Ooh.
But I didn't end up getting to that area either. I only had so much time, right? And I had a concert that I was going to as well in Halifax. And
who did you see?
Wanted to show me Peggy's Cove because I guess it's famous.
Yeah, so, I see why. Who did you see?
Yeah. So.
No, what was the concert?
Oh, he bought me a Sarah McLachlan ticket, so we went to see Sarah McLachlan.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
That's
it was
awesome.
for her fumbling towards anniversary for her fumbling towards ecstasy CD, which is like where she kind of got a name for herself mostly.
Yeah, I think that's the one we had back in the day.
Yeah, it's for you. It's probably either that one or surfacing.
Yeah, I definitely had that one. My mom had the other one. I think is what it was.
Yeah,
I remember that title. That's a memorable title.
Yeah. I personally, my favorite album is Fumbling Towards Ecstasy, that and Vox, which is like your first album. Definitely not well known, but I do love it. It's definitely got a different feel. She was really young. But yeah, it was a great time. It was a great time. It was very nostalgic for me.
Yeah. She played all her old hits and everything?
Well, she played the whole album for Fumbling because it was the anniversary for Fumbling.
Oh, okay, of course, yeah.
And she's buff. Like, I was not expecting that. Those are Pilates arms, I'm fucking telling you. I'm like, whoa, that's cool though. She sounded great, and she, even though she supposedly has been having bouts of laryngitis, like she's had laryngitis like reoccurring a lot lately, but she still made it, which is good because the last concert that she had like years ago that was supposed to be in Nova Scotia, she had to cancel because of laryngitis. But this time she was able to pull through. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And I think it's probably just the fact that she uses her voice so much and then once you get that, something that just occurs now. Yeah. Yeah. No, but she sounded great. It was nostalgic. I was able to see her in Halifax, which is crazy because I've never been. So that was nice. I absolutely hated the flight.
Oh, God. Was it long?
Well, it was long. Wasn't so bad going. It was coming back, which killed me. I swear to God, it killed me.
Did you have like a bunch of layovers, or was it being in the airplane was miserable? Or hey, buddy?
It was the airplane mostly that was miserable. The first one was bad. I felt kind of icky. The second one, because I went from Halifax to Toronto and then layover for an hour, then Toronto to Vancouver. Okay. Then on my way from there to where I live. And the one from Toronto to Vancouver, I felt like it was bad enough from Halifax to Toronto, but the one from Toronto to Vancouver, it got worse, where I felt like I felt like the air pressure wouldn't like dissipate. Like I wasn't getting enough breathing air. Like it felt like I couldn't breathe properly. My whole body, particularly my face, felt it was swollen. Like there was some sort of weird area where the decompression wasn't working on me or something. And
oh my God.
Yeah, it was so bad. And I didn't have an Advil on me because it was in my checked-in luggage. I forgot it in there. And so
no.
By the end of the last flight from Toronto to Vancouver, it got so bad. All of a sudden, I could taste something metallic. My whole tooth and filling popped out of my mouth. Yeah, my molar one. And I don't even know how that happened, but like that happened. That was a thing. Granted, it was mostly a filling than a tooth because it was a huge filling I had back there. Okay. But the whole tooth, everything popped out.
That's horrifying.
Yeah, and like I felt like it was like I said, the whole pressure was so bad on my body. I don't know why. It didn't seem like it affected anybody else on the plane, but I felt sick the entire time, and that is a almost 6-hour flight.
Oh God.
And I had to leave Port Hawkesbury because that's where I was staying on Cape Breton. 4 hours or about 3 hours to get to Halifax from there. So I had to leave at 2 a.m. My flight was at 6 a.m.
Oh God.
And then I'm going back in time, right? So then I get to Toronto, and then an hour layover there, and then another 6 hours, which is like about 2 hours from Halifax to Toronto, then 6 hours from Toronto to Vancouver. And I am exhausted at this point too. And I'm feeling like shit, and I feel sick. The taxi driver, because I got the taxi driver to the Horseshoe Bay Ferry Terminal because I have to take a ferry.
Oh, hey, Belle, what's up? Sorry, Bella's here. How you doing?
That's okay. So because I live on an island, I had to take a taxi to the ferry to get to the island, right? And he purposely, I swear, his cars are passing. He's going slow on purpose so that he makes more money. It had cost me over $100 for a taxi cab ride. And then he was so slow, he made me by 10 minutes miss my ferry.
I'm great. Finished with my patience.
But I was able to get to the next ferry home. But by the time I got home, I was dead. I was dead. I felt like utter shit. Yeah. Yes, I do. Yeah, I have to have it repaired. I have to fucking figure out my finances too, because that shit's expensive. So yeah, flight coming or going, totally fine. Flight coming back, horrible experience. I don't even know if I want to ever fly again. But
but going across a country that size, I mean, it took you 6 hours to fly it. How many days would it take you to drive it?
Yeah, right. It would take a lot. It's like a pretty
big. I don't think she's got it fixed yet. Right. No, I know. It's bigger even than the US, right?
Yeah, it is. A lot. But anyways,
and the United States is prohibitively large.
That was just such an experience I don't want to ever have again.
He doesn't want to be held, so I put him down so he sits there and whines.
Anyway.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That sounds like a dreadful experience. I'm glad it's over. And you got a bunch of nice crystals for your trouble and some good memories with your friend.
I'm super happy, excited about what they're going to look like when I'm done tumbling them. And
just Are you hungry? Is it lunchtime? And then maybe you'll take a nap.
You gonna feed him first?
Oh, I can do this while we talk. It's fine.
Okay.
I'm just gonna squish some food on a plate for him. See if he's hungry. Oh, I had to come and get his plate.
But at least the tooth is a back molar and not like one of my front teeth. Can you imagine?
Oh my gosh, but it could have been. It could have been. That's so scary.
I think because that back molar was mostly filling rather than mostly tooth. I think maybe had contributed to it, but like it was not a happy experience.
Well, oh my goodness! If one of your
pressure on my head was unbearable.
Oh God! Well, that explains.
And all that time, because it was so early in the morning, I wasn't able to get a full good breakfast. Right? I only went to Tim Hortons and got myself a little time.
So the whole time you were hungry.
And I got there. I had to go on the plane. And then there wasn't enough time to like sit and eat a real lunch or breakfast at the airport at the second layover, at the first layover. So then I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'll wait till the second plane ride because it's enough hours. They offer you meals. You have to pay for it, but that's fine. I'll pay for it, right? That's what they're supposed to do. They never came to offer meals. They only came for snacks. So that whole time till I got to the ferry terminal, I hadn't eaten a single thing except for one small little package of fava beans. I know. So I'm starving at this point as well. So I'm feeling like, yeah, it was horrible. Because like they're supposed to come around and offer you something. They never did. And I even asked for a second thing of fava beans, and I was denied it. I'm like, what the hell is this?
Oh my God. How long have you been back?
I got back on the 12th at night.
Okay.
So, yeah.
You've had some time to recover then.
Yeah.
That's good.
It took me a few days to recover, but I recovered from all that eventually. But I was jet lagged.
Since I've done any real traveling when we took our vacation, and I'm like, wow, I must have got old the last decade because this is hard. Have you always found flying to be that hard? I don't know.
I can't hear you because your mic or whatever or something is catching on your clothes and it's scratching.
Oh, fucking hell.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
There we go.
Okay, sorry.
About flight, something?
Oh, I was just asking if you'd always found airplanes that difficult.
No. That was the first time. Yeah, right?
I haven't been on an airplane in 20 years. Now I'm scared.
Are you going somewhere on an airplane? Okay, I wasn't sure if you had something lined up.
Oh, but I have hopes of ever going anywhere.
Well, I mean, nobody else seems to be affected but me.
Yeah, but okay. One of the last times that I did fly on a plane, I have an ear that doesn't drain right.
Oh, yeah.
And I fell asleep on takeoff and woke up screaming because I thought somebody was shooting up the airplane. That's how loud my ear popped.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So that's exactly the kind of thing I may expect too. Who knows? It sounds totally. I relate, girl.
Oh my goodness, I'm so
scary.
Sorry.
No, oh my gosh.
I know how bad it can
be. Right, yeah, and it's not supposed to be. I don't know. It's not air travel is.
But not with what's going on with the airplanes lately.
No, right? Yeah, no, I know.
It's
more like emblematic of a.
I did make sure I did not take the Boeing. I would not have gone if it was a Boeing. So the major.
How do you make
Air
sure
Canada
of that?
And WestJet, they all use nothing but Boeing, and there's been so many issues lately with Boeing. Even in Canada.
I can't imagine.
And so I took Airlines, which does not use any Boeing, and I used them. So that was the thing, because when I got back to waiting for my luggage in Vancouver, when I got back, there was a lady there who she was going to Calgary, from Vancouver to Calgary, right? On WestJet.
Yeah.
Boeing. And they got up there, they were going there, and then all of a sudden they turned around. They had to turn around and go back to Vancouver. And the pilot said, "Oh, we have to turn back around." They didn't really say exactly why, but they had to stay in the position with their heads down, arms crossed on top of the seat next, in front of them, until they landed. And they had to do some breathing exercises or whatever. And then the fire department had to take them off the plane. And because something was wrong with the plane, something was happening there, right? And they weren't too sure. That's Boeing. And this happens a lot. This has been happening a lot. So there's a lot that's not getting on the news because it's happening so frequently now. Anyway, so she now is stuck in Vancouver because she was from somewhere else. Like, she drove to Vancouver. And the next flight that she can make it out there isn't going to be for like a few days. And so she was stuck there.
So she's just stuck there. Come on.
So it could have been like a lot worse.
But that's cold consolation, right? I mean,
yeah, right. Well, I was just talking to her. She just got off the plane. She was waiting for her luggage, and she was out. I was out having a smoke. She was too. And she was just talking to me about what just happened. And I was like, holy shit. In my mind, I'm going, thank fucking God I decided to release Porter.
So domestic flights, especially in this country, I guess we've laid off a bunch of the air traffic controllers.
Yeah, so I've heard. Well, not even laid off. It's more that they're not coming to work because they're not getting paid from the shutdown.
Oh, the shutdown's over. So theoretically, they should be paying them again, I guess.
I think some of them just left because it was just too high.
Right. They also lost a bunch of them, and they also laid off a bunch of them, and
Well, I know that they laid off
a bad situation.
Previously, when the big beautiful bill and Doge came passed that bill or whatever, because of the government waste, quote unquote, which is bullshit. But I didn't realize there was more layoffs. Was there more layoffs? After?
Okay, I don't know. I'm not keeping track of it to that detail, unfortunately. But
okay, I think that's what happened. I think the layoffs happened then. I know it was a big stressor, but then the government shut down, and then they weren't getting paid.
Oh, yeah. I know they lost a bunch of people during that from a lot of places.
Yeah, a lot of people are just like, fuck it. It's such a high stress job, and I'm not even getting paid to do it now.
Yeah.
And then Trump is telling me, "Don't worry, I got you, bro. Trust me." I wouldn't believe that shit either.
No. It is a nightmare.
Mm-hmm. What are you What is going on in the background?
Oh,
You're watching something.
I'm not watching shit.
Oh, something is.
I live with somebody who is one of the most inconsiderate people I have ever known in my life, and I have to be outside to watch the puppies, make sure that the older dogs don't eat him. So.
Oh.
Yeah, and telling her that I'm trying to do a thing and asking her to turn it down would not work. So.
Okay.
Yeah, he's going to fall asleep soon, and we're going to go sit on the front porch.
Okay.
I guess I can sit here just inside the door. That's probably better.
Well, are we excited to get to this reading today?
Girl, I'll be honest. I don't even remember. I am excited, but I don't even remember which one it is.
Okay, well, I'll go through that then. That's something I would love to do. So, hold on. Let me just So we have, hold on. Let's put it that way. Okay. Gotta get up off my seat. So day 6 with chapter 5. Violence against women and the ongoing primitive accumulation of capital. So we have our introduction. We're going to go through dowry murders. And come here. We've got amniocentesis, and femicide. Then we go through rape, analysis, dowry as tribute, are men rapists by nature, and then a conclusion. So we're doing a little bit of a data analysis on some of the things and trying to go through that. So, yeah.
Oh, wait.
I don't think it is. I think it is. She makes a very good point and a very good case. So, I'm just saying there's going to be people. Yeah, I know. Okay, so yeah, so that is what we're going to be going through today. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, about how long is it?
It's not too long, actually, this one. I don't think.
Okay. You're
So
still going to
that's
have to leave around noon your time, though, right?
me?
Yeah.
No,
Is
I
that
can
right?
stay for whenever.
Okay, because I don't have to leave today either. I brought him home after lunch. So
Yeah, no, I'm good. I don't have anything planned today. So that's why I said, yeah, whatever,
cool.
girl. If you've got a dentist appointment, I don't mind me,
Oh, okay.
whatever works for
That
you.
was yesterday. That was yesterday.
Yeah. Okay, so should I begin? Or
Sure, go for it. I will mute myself, and then you won't have to deal with all the background noise around
yeah,
here.
I'm just gonna get my piece of gum first because I get drowned out sometimes. And
Okay.
it's helpful.
You do all this while you chew gum?
Well, yeah, but you don't chew it. You just have it in the back of your mouth because it helps stimulate saliva, right? If you're over talking.
Oh.
So you just chew like 1, 2 chews, and then leave it in the back of your mouth, like on the side of the back of your cheek. You don't like have to keep chewing it like a fucking cow.
Well, no, okay.
And it helps
That's
to
kind
stimulate the
little bit of inside baseball there. It's pretty interesting.
yeah. So
Cool.
I know just different things because of where I worked in the hospital, right? In that sort of field, right? Biology.
Mm-hmm.
So I know just the weird random facts.
Hey, we all got them. That one's an interesting one.
Oh no. Okay. So let's begin.
Okay, I'm going to sit you down someplace prettier than right here by my back door. And I'm going to mute myself. So here we go.
Here we go. All right. So, Chapter 5, Violence Against Women and the Ongoing Primitive Accumulation of Capital. With introduction. Whatever the differences between the various production relations through which women are integrated into development, or rather subordinated under the global process of capital accumulation, one thing is clear: this integration does not mean that they become free wage laborers or proletarians. They also do not become free entrepreneurs, in spite of all the rhetoric used by the development agencies. Nor do they become real housewives. On the contrary, the common feature of all the production and labor relations just previously described is the use of structural or direct violence and coercion by which women are exploited and superexploited. The women in India doing casual agricultural labor see that the traditional village norms, which guaranteed their work and income, are breaking down under the impact of capitalist farming, and they are increasingly subjected to direct violence if they demand the legality guaranteed minimum wage. Marginal peasant women are being raped, their huts are burnt, their husbands beaten if they try to cultivate the land allotted to them legally by land reform provisions. The men are increasingly turned into bonded laborers instead of becoming free proletarians. In the dairy cooperatives in India, we saw that poor rural women are forced to do all the work necessary in the production of milk without having any access to the income from dairying. The repayment of bank credits was secured by automatically deducting 50% from the milk money. The labor of these women was, therefore, already pawned to the banks and the state-owned Dairy Development Corporation before they saw any money. Their own husbands appropriated the rest of the milk money. Women's labor could, therefore, be trapped almost free of costs for the accumulated agencies. The extraction of female labor was guaranteed by the violence inherent in the patriarchal men-women, as well as in the existing class relations. The poor women involved in dairy production met with the direct violence of the landowners when they tried to exercise their traditional right to collect grass on the fields. The superexploitation of women in the modern model cooperative of Kumaripa was based on the introduction of the housewife producer. This example also reveals that poor peasant women in third world countries do not voluntarily embrace the housewife model, but have to be put under considerable economic and ideological pressure to give up subsistence production, proper and accept commodity production. One of the constant fears of the development planners is the threat that small-scale producers who have been introduced to the credit-induced commodity production and who still control some means of production could use the credits for their own consumption instead of producing the required commodities for export. This fear also exists with regard to the housewife producers. Therefore, the production processes are organized in such a way that the producers are no longer free not to work for commodity production, not free to get control over the product. The model cooperative of Kumaripa was thus organized as a quasi-total institution with a bureaucratic hierarchy where everybody had to sign a bond that she would only work for the cooperative, where people could not leave the cooperative when they wanted, but had to be present all the time. These de facto forced labor relations had the effect, as Claudia von Ruhlhoff in 1983 notes, that the members of the cooperative behaved like the inmates of a garrison, a prison, or forced labor camp. The features of a total institution with quasi-forced labor relations under quasi-military control can also be observed in the most modern free production zones or world market factories. Not only are trade unions usually not allowed in these factories, but most of the labor laws are not implemented or are circumvented by a clever manipulation of the woman, the housewife model. Only young unmarried women are recruited. On marriage, they are dismissed. Moral and direct pressure is used to make women work faster and more. The violence and brutality against women who work in the sex industry in the third world and first world countries needs no special emphasis. They constitute the very milieu in which this production relation thrives. It is slave labor in its crudest and most inhumane form. All these production relations based on violence and coercion, we can observe an interplay between men, fathers, brothers, husbands, pimps, sons, the patriarchal family, the state, and capitalist enterprises. Looking at these examples and at the fact that violence and coercion seem to be present in all female work relations, the question arises as to whether this is necessarily so, or whether this violence has to be explained by other, more accidental reasons. Before answering this question, I want to present some more examples of violence against women which, in recent years, have been brought into the open by feminists in third world countries. I shall concentrate on the situation in India, where feminist groups have since the end of the 70s started campaigns against particular manifestations of violence against women, above all against excessive dowry demands and the murder of brides who did not bring enough dowry, against sex pre-selection methods and female feticide, and above all against the increase of rapes and sexual assaults and brutalities. Moving on to dowry murders. The modernization process in rural India has not only sharpened the class conflict between the rural rich and the rural poor, but has also, since the end of the 1960s, led to violence against women on an unprecedented scale. The standard pattern of how the ruling land-owning classes taught the poor and landless peasants a lesson was by burning their huts, beating and killing the men, and raping their women. From 1972 onwards, I have collected Indian newspaper clippings about so-called atrocities against weaker sections, which in many cases include the rape and abuse of poor women. These brief news items hardly evoked any protests from the urban educated middle class. For the left organizations, the rape of women was part of the feudal or semi-feudal production relations which, according to them, still prevailed in rural India. Also, the women's wings of the Communist Party of India, or CPI, and the Communist Party of India, CPIM, had not made rape and violence against women an important issue at that time. Between 1978 and 1980, however, this situation changed. Small women's groups in the big cities of Bombay, Delhi, Hyderabad, and Bangalore, who were inspired by the new women's movement, began a campaign against rape as well as against the murder of young brides who had not brought enough dowry to their husbands' families. Around that time, it became increasingly obvious that violence was not restricted to remote rural areas, a common feature in the big cities. What was more, the educated middle class women now also had to realize that they too had become potential victims of rape, molestation, and particularly of sexual harassment and eventually murder because of ever growing dowry demands. The argument often heard from progressive middle class women and men that women's liberation was useful only for poor rural and urban women, but that middle class women had no problem, could no longer be upheld. The dowry murders in India all follow more or less the same pattern. Marriages are arranged by the families of bridegroom and bride, who often know each other only from an exchange of photographs. During the marriage negotiations, the groom's family demands a certain amount of dowry. The bride's family has no right to demand anything, but has to try its best to meet the demands of the groom's side. The dowry demands have risen in recent years to astronomical figures. In well-to-do middle-class families, dowries are demanded to the tune of 500,000 rupees or more in cash, plus demands for prestigious items like refrigerators, scooters, TV sets, gold, radios, watches, cars, and travel. Ordinary middle-class families still demand and receive dowries ranging from 5,000 rupees or rupees to 30,000 rupees or rupees. I don't know which one it is. It's one of the two. The bride's family is eager to marry off their daughter because an unmarried woman still has neither place nor status in patriarchal India. Therefore, bride's parents eventually give in to the dowry demands of the other side. If they don't have the money to hand, they take up loans. In a survey of 105 families in Bangalore, it was found that 66% of the families had incurred debts in order to marry off their daughters. Or they promised to pay more after the marriage. After the marriage, the bride has to go to her in-laws' house because most families are patrilocal. Often the harassment starts immediately. Either the husband or his mother or other in-laws of the bride begin to harass her to extract more dowry from her father or brothers. Apart from these demands, she is often subjected to all kinds of humiliations and brutalities. If she cannot bring more dowry one day, as in many of the dowry cases, she is found dead. The in-laws usually inform the public that the woman either committed suicide by burning herself or that an accident occurred while she was cooking. By the method of burning the woman to death, all evidence is usually destroyed so that hardly any of the dowry death cases is taken up by the police and the law courts. These cases are reported in the newspapers only under the three-line news items like women commit suicide or women burnt to death in cooking accident. Here are a few case histories taken from various regions and a cross-section of Indian society, which were published in feminist and other journals after the anti-dowry murder campaign was started by some women and the feminist group Stri Sangarish in Delhi in June 1979. So, Delhi, quote, Abha is a graduate in zoology from Dulat Ram College, a school teacher and mother of a 5-month-old daughter. It is reported by her parents that, after her marriage to Dr. Hari Shankar Gaur, scientific research officer, class 1, at IARI, Pusa, New Delhi, she was being tortured for more dowry. A refrigerator was demanded, which was given by her parents 4 months before her murder. On July 7th, 1979, her husband beat her and injured her on the forehead so that the wound would require 4 stitches. Her husband wanted to go to West Germany, and it is suspected that he wished to remarry for more dowry. On October 1st, Abha went to her parents to celebrate Deshara. When she returned home that night, her brother and younger sister too noticed that her husband seemed angry. The day the next day, an unknown person came and informed her parents that Abba was seriously ill and was in hospital. When they rushed there, a nurse informed them that Abba had died of poisoning. The parents have registered a case of murder against her husband and father-in-law. No arrests have been made so far. End quote. Another one, quote from Delhi. 2 months after Prem Kumari of Delhi got married, she died due to severe burns on May this year of 1980. Ever since she got married, her husband and her in-laws kept complaining that we had given an insufficient dowry. Padmavati Khanna, Prem Kumarti's mother, told me. Quote, they complained that we had not given a fridge, a television set, a fan, and various other things. After that, the marriage ceremony, we were not allowed to talk to her or meet her. It was only when her health became very bad that she was allowed to come over to our house. She told us how badly they treated her and how they beat her because we had given insufficient dowry. The next time we saw her was when she was burnt. End quote. From Agra, quote, the Tajganj police have arrested 4 members of a family, including a woman, for alleged cruelty to Mrs. Rajni Sharma, a daughter-in-law of the family, and cutting off her breasts in one of the most brutal dowry cases in the history of the city. According to police, Miss Rajni Sharma was married to Hari Shankar of the Tajganj locality a few months ago. Hari Shankar and his family members had been allegedly pressing the girl to bring 10,000 rupees to buy a scooter. On her refusal to do so, Hari Shankar allegedly bit off both breasts of his wife. He was allegedly encouraged in this torture by members of his family. End quote. In Bangalore, quote, Phyllis belonged to a Protestant Christian family of 5 daughters. Her father is an estate superintendent. Her marriage was arranged with Mr. Thomas, working in the Post and Telegraphs Department, Bangalore. Mr. Thomas's brother demanded 10,000 rupees in cash, 15 sovereigns in gold, and a share in the immovable property. The family fulfilled the first 2 demands, but did not give a share in the property. The marriage took place in September 1981. Mr. Thomas started torturing Phyllis both physically and mentally and demanded 50,000 rupees more in cash, as he claimed he had debts to repay. She was made to go without food and water for many days and became very weak. Seeing her condition, her mother asked the couple to come and stay with her till Christmas. Both of them agreed to do this, but on December 15th, Thomas sent Phyllis to her mother's house and took her back to his house the same night, promising to bring her again the next day. On December 17th, Thomas informed Phyllis's mother that Phyllis had burnt herself to death. Her family strongly suspects foul play. They say Phyllis did not want to get divorced because she had 3 unmarried sisters. They allege that though the post-mortem shows the girl died of suffocation and brain congestion, no action has been taken due to the unhelpful attitude of the authorities. Thus ended the life of a bride within 88 days of her marriage. In Chandigarh, quote, Manorama, 25, was burnt to death last August in the house of her in-laws. 72B Rani Ka Bak Amristar. She died apparently because of her brothers, who had since her marriage given money to her in-laws, refused to comply with further demands for dowry. Manorama was married to Kailash Chand 3 years ago and had a son and a daughter. According to neighbors, Manorama was constantly harassed by her mother-in-law, Savirichi Devi. Manorama's in-laws had always taunted her for bringing insufficient dowry, and their demands became more persistent when their neighbor's son got a car in dowry. 2 days before Manorama met her gruesome death, there was a violent quarrel between her in-laws and her brothers. Manorama and her brothers were brutally beaten up. The girl's Bapi, or sister-in-law, implored her to return with them to her brother's home. Her Bapi expected the worst from Manorama's in-laws because they had burnt their youngest daughter-in-law barely 10 months before in their ancestral village of Fehagachirian. The youngest daughter-in-law's parents were poor. Moreover, her stepmother was unconcerned, so the case was not pursued. Another reason why her in-laws got away with the heinous crime was that they had managed to force the poor girl into signing a statement saying she had committed suicide. End quote. Also, a policewoman, Veena Sharma, was burnt to death by her husband in Delhi in 1980. These are extracts from the report from Manushi. Quote, she was in the kitchen cooking for her husband when he poured some highly inflammable material on her and set her ablaze. He then ran out screaming that the gas cylinder had burst. However, this was found not to be so, and the 4-year-old son testified that his father had set fire to his mother. Verna was a sub-inspector of Delhi police. Verna had married Nagrathe, her husband, against the wishes of her parents. She was an MA in Hindi literature from Delhi University, while he had barely passed the 7th standard, was physically handicapped, and had never had a regular job. Veena was the primary breadwinner of the family. Though Nagarathe had no regular income and wasted much money drinking and gambling, yet he resented Virna's independent income, was madly suspicious of her, forbade her to mix with colleagues and friends, and refused to help with housework or childcare. End quote. After the anti-dowry murder campaign was started, many more cases of young brides killed by husbands and relatives or driven to suicide appeared in the press. Women's groups and organizations put pressure on the government for more stringent legal action against the culprits, for a reform of the Dowry Prohibition Act of 1961, which was just another paper bill, not even followed by the politicians themselves, and for more investigation into the circumstances under which young brides died in India and the number of such deaths. Atrocities against women were, as a group, were discussed in Parliament on the 10th of June, 1980. It was revealed by the Delhi police that in 1979, a total of 69 women had died from burns, while by July 1980, there were already 65 women who had lost their lives due to burning. During the 1975 International Women's Year, 350 girls and women were suspected of having been burnt because of dowry demands. According to the Home Minister, 2,670 women died of burns in India in 1976 and 2,917 in 1977. These were only the cases registered by the police. In spite of the growing movement against dowry murders and other atrocities against women, the number of young women killed by husbands and or in-laws rose rapidly after 1980. In 1983, the Supreme Court for the first time imposed the death penalty on the husband, the mother-in-law, and the brother-in-law of a 20-year-old woman, Sudha, who had been in the 9th month of pregnancy. They had poured kerosene on her and set her afire because she did not bring enough dowry. Even his harsh judgment did not have the expected deterrent effect, however. In the same week, 10 more dowry murders were registered. In 1981, in the state of Uttar Pradesh alone, 1,053 women reportedly committed suicide. At a conference in Madras on 6th of November of 1982, Dr. K. Janaki, professor of forensic medicine, said that the pattern of social relationships had changed drastically in the last few years. Quote, the number of women dying of burns has trebled, and those ending their lives by hanging have doubled. I don't know why this is trebled, probably tripled, I would assume. Had doubled since 1977, end quote. Quoting hospital statistics, she said that in South Madras alone, the number of women dying of burns every year had gone up from 52 to 178 in the previous 5 years, and the number of those dying by hanging had gone up from 70 to 146. According to another press statement from the state of Madhya Pradesh, on average, every day, at least one woman is admitted to the biggest hospital of Madhya Pradesh with burns. Most of them are young. The reasons given by their husbands are mainly the explosion of gas bottles or accidental fires while cooking. Every third of these women succumb to her injuries. All right, so now we're going to get to the amniocentesis and femicide. The declining sex ratio in India since 1911, the extraordinary dowry demands of recent years, the spread of dowry to communities and sections of the poor, which formerly did not know this custom but followed the practice of bride price. The fact that the excessive dowry demands are a decisive factor in the growing indebtedness of the poor are sufficient evidence of the fact that women are not wanted in India. In fact, that they are increasingly less wanted than men. Before we come to analyze the causes of this new trend of neo-patriarchy, it is necessary to give a brief account of the latest developments of this trend. And I just want to point out, by the way, that it's gotten significantly higher to present day. It's really bad in India right now for women and all that.
Right, because this was 45 years ago.
Yeah, it's way worse now. Just
Oh, I'm
putting that out
sure.
there. Yeah. These are the possibilities opened up by new technology of sex pre-selection through amniocentesis and ultrasound scanning, combined with population control policies and the strengthening of patriarchal institutions and attitudes of male dominance. Several years ago, a news item appeared in an Indian newspaper under the heading, "Doctor, kill it if it is a girl." This sentence was quoted from pregnant women who had been used as test persons in Indian clinic and sex pre-selection experiments. A fair number of the women on whom the tests were tried out told the doctors to abort the fetus if it was female. When this item appeared in the press, there was no reaction from the public. People are so used to anti-women attitudes that they take it for granted when women as mothers do not want to give birth to other women. When I read this little news item, I wondered what would have happened if pregnant women had told the doctor, kill it if it's a boy. As it has become socially accepted that the birth of a daughter is a disaster, it is not surprising that some years later, in July 1982, some clever doctors in Amritsar saw the chance of their lives to make a business out of the anti-woman and pro-male bias of patriarchal Indian society. They advertised and sold amniocentesis as a method of sex pre-selection, followed by the abortion of female fetuses. As happened with the anti-dowry and anti-rape campaigns, the press began to report on the extent and the circumstances of female feticide, only after women's groups had started agitating against a threatening tendency towards the extermination of women. Popular magazines published reports on investigations about the use of amniocentesis and the abortion of female fetuses. About the subsequent controversy, Vibhuti Patel writes, quote, "One estimate that shocked everyone, right from the planners and policymakers to the academicians and activists, was between 1978 and 1983, around 78,000 female fetuses were aborted after sex determination tests in our country. The government and private practitioners involved in this lucrative trade justify the sex determination test as a measure for population control." End quote. In spite of the protests from the women's movement, sex determination tests and female feticide are carried out in both private and government hospitals in cities like Bombay, Delhi, Amritsar, Chandigarh, Baroda, Kanpur, Ahmedabad, and Meerut. And sorry if I'm mispronouncing all the Indian cities. I don't speak Indian, or Hindu or whatever. All right. A research team of the Women's Center in Bombay found out in their survey of 6 hospitals that 10 women per day undergo the test. One of the prestigious non-vegetarian anti-abortion hospitals conducts the tests and recommends the pregnant women in other clinics for the dirty job of the abortion. They ask the women to bring back the aborted female fetuses for further research. The cost of amniocentesis plus abortion of female fetuses is rather low. It ranges between 80 rupees to 500 rupees. This means that it is not only well-to-do middle-class families who can afford to breed male, but also poor families in the rural areas. Meanwhile, the money-minded medical professionals and clinics have also organized services for outpatients. Women living away from the big clinics where the test is conducted get the result by mail, which takes at least a week. Quote, "By the time they decide to abort the fetus, it is over 18 weeks old. Abortion at such a late stage is quite harmful for the mother," writes Vibhuti Patel. Meanwhile, sex determination tests and the abortion of female fetuses have also spread to rural areas in Maharashtra. A survey of slums in Bombay has revealed that many poor women undergo this treatment and pay the money for the test and an abortion of female fetuses because they argue
Sorry, can
that.
I just pop in here really quick? Because I don't
Yep.
know if everybody in the world is aware of this, but pregnancy is only 40 weeks long. So 18 weeks is almost halfway through. I just
Yeah.
wanted to point that out.
Yeah, it's pretty, yeah, and it's dangerous to do it that way just for non-medical reasons, right?
Well, of course it's dangerous. It's
Right?
just,
Like, this
I'm
is not
sorry.
good. It's not good.
No, and I'm pro-choice, okay? But 18 weeks, like that's almost
Yeah, and the fact
viable.
that they're
Like,
doing it for is because they can't afford the dowry for having them.
no, right. Because they just,
Yeah.
so awful. But I just wanted, like, those numbers are on their are very stark, I think.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. Where was I? Okay, I'll just start you. Yeah. A survey of slums in Bombay. Okay, I read that part. Yeah. Okay, yeah. A survey of slums in Bombay has revealed that many poor women undergo this treatment and pay the money for the test and an abortion of female fetuses because they argue that it is better to spend 80 rupees or even 800 rupees now than to spend thousands of rupees. Oh, so it's rupees, not rupees. Rupees on the girl at the time of her marriage. The controversy about amniocentesis was sparked off, according to Vimal, oh shoot, Balasubramanyanya. Not so much by the fact that these methods constitute a threat to the female sex as a whole, but due to the mistake of hard sell advertising and sales promotion. She is of the opinion that with more sophisticated methods like ultrasound scanning becoming widely accepted and a more discreet way for doctors and clinics to sell this technology, female feticide would become much more widespread than it is now. She blames not only the patriarchal preference for a male offspring for these femicidal tendencies, but more so the international philosophy that inspires much of the elitist thinking of the scientists who today dabble in fetal research, embryo transfer, and the vast tricky field of genetic engineering. Oh yeah. It's so gross.
Okay, so it's classist and racist,
Oh
or
yeah.
racist and sexist and
It's
racist,
always
whatever.
about
It's
race,
all of it.
class, and sex. It always ends up coming to
Yeah.
that shit, right? That's the pinnacles. Those are the pinnacle pillars of our societies. Anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Abortion of female fetuses was advocated as early as 1974 by one of the key persons in the Indian population control establishment, namely Dr. D.N. Powell. I can't read that. It's kind of cut off. But anyways, something like that. But not only make male doctors and scientists advocate female feticide as the best way of solving India's population problem. There are also women like Dharma Kumar, who tries to apply the capitalist logic of supply and demand to the valuation of women in society. In response to the economist Bardhan, who, like so many others, sees the anti-woman tendencies in India as a direct result of the changing economic participation of women in agriculture. But, quote, but why not see this economic logic through? Sex selection at conception will reduce the supply of women. They will become more valuable. Oh, gross. And female children will be better cared for and will live longer. We have here a good instrument for balancing the supply and demand for women and for equating their price all over India, since caste, regional, religious, and other barriers prevent the movement of women. So in course of time, one should expect dowries to fall in the north. End quote. She even advocates amniocentesis and female feticide as a more humane solution than female infanticide. Quote, is not female feticide better than female infanticide, or even the ill treatment of little girls? What are the alternative policies of improving the treatment of women? End quote. The problem is you have a ratio difference where there's not enough women to feed male desires and male understandings that they own women. You lead to way more violence. I just want to throw that out there. Because now
Also,
you got a
you're
situation
treating women like commodities
like a
and not
product for
people.
one, but even
Yeah.
beyond, it's not going to be a good consequence later down on. It's going to get worse.
And I'm just saying there's no way it could be.
Yeah.
Because you're not
Right?
treating them like human beings, so the outcome
Yeah,
is going to be bad.
exactly. Not to mention what you're saying. Oh, why would they be protected? Because there's not a lot of them. No, that means like men are going to be who think that they can do whatever they want, have been given that sort of blanche, carte, privilege, are going to start just be like, whatever, I'm just going to rape them. And we've seen such horrible sexual abuse and rapes in India. We know this.
Right. No, blatant, just bald-faced economics applied to human relations is horrifying.
Yeah. Right.
That's not how humans work. It's
Mm-hmm. Anyway, so yeah. But yeah, just putting that out there. Like, is that just like when listening to that, especially a woman say that, you're just like, you bitch. You bitch.
Oh yeah, it's definitely
it's sick. Yeah.
This whole section is making me kind of nauseous. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. I do not think that one can okay, this is Maria now, not the quote. I do not think one can find a starker expression of the women hatred of patriarchal capitalist society, internalized by women themselves and turned against their own sex, than this advice by Dharma Kumar. Patriarchal and sexist social relations are not even mentioned, and no change of these is advocated. Rather, the extermination of women themselves is suggested as a solution. This reminds me of the logic of the population control establishment, which suggests eliminating poverty by annihilating the poor. But this case is even worse, since it is women who is suggesting this femicide final solution, right? Like, it's sick. It's gross. Anyway, so moving on to the next subchapter.
Sorry, but the whole thing is rooted in self-hatred, right? You're prejudiced against your own kind. Do you wish your mother had aborted you?
Right. Well, it doesn't really matter for her because she's obviously in a wealthier position. It's just, women who are middle class and downward. That's the thing, right?
Right, but I'm just saying, as a poor woman in India going through that process of, it's a girl, better get rid of it. Like, what are you saying?
Right. It's just gross. It's gross.
And it's rooted in self-hatred, and I think it's really sad too.
Of course it is, but the thing is, this doctor, whoever, has dissociated from that. Obviously, right? It's psychopathic. Like I said, it's just psychopathic. The more you go up there, the more psychopathic. More you climb status, the more psychotic it becomes, because you're so dissociated from your own humanity. You really are.
Yeah. Is psychotic and psychopathic the same thing?
Yes. They're both the same thing.
Well, being psychotic is being in psychosis.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be psychopathic to be in psychosis.
You don't have to be psychopathic to be in psychosis, but to be psychopathic, you pretty much are living in psychosis. It's a completely delusional world that you see, that you perceive.
Okay.
I mean, whatever. I mean,
I've noticed that people tend to use those words interchangeably, and I've wondered about this for a long time, actually. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Well, it's the same thing when people talk about being psychopaths being the same as sociopaths, which they're similar, but they're different. And I'm not too sure exactly, but I'm pretty sure that that's the sort of idea when it comes to the psychology, that's like a permanent state. Like, psychopathy is almost like a permanent state of psychosis, because you're constantly lying, you're constantly perceiving things in a certain way, right? That is like mentally deranged. I don't know. We can look into that maybe later. Who knows?
Yeah. I'm gonna have to look that up at some point.
Yeah, do that, please, because I would like to know more.
Okay. Anyways, please go on.
Okay, yeah. So the next subchapter is rape. Oh, lovely. All right. Around the time when women's groups and organizations launched a movement against dowry murders in India, another campaign was started against the increase in rape and other brutalities against women. The anti-rape campaign was again started by small feminist groups in Bombay and Delhi. As was the case with dowry murders, rape had for a long time been taken as a normal affair, a feature of the backward or feudal relations apparently prevailing in rural India. After a number of incidences which took place in the big cities, it became clear that rapists were also found among the educated middle class. Moreover, rape cases seemed to be on the increase in the cities. But what eventually horrified and angered the small feminist groups more than anything else was the fact that, after 1978, women were not only raped by all kinds of men, but increasingly by the police, the custodians of law and order. Most of these rapes took place within the police stations themselves, and the victims were mostly gang raped. The first ghastly story of this genre happened in Hyderabad on the 30th of March, 1978. a young Muslim woman from the countryside, Ramiza B, had come to Hyderabad with her husband to visit their relatives. When the couple were returning home from a late cinema show, Ramiza B was picked up by the city police and dragged into a police station. There she was detained the whole night, beaten and raped by at least 3 policemen. After that, her husband was also brought to the police station. The police extracted 400 rupees from him. When he learned that Ramiza B had been beaten and raped by the policeman, he protested. Then he too was beaten so badly by the police that he died that same day. The case was investigated by the Muqtadar Commission, and the policemen were found guilty. When Justice Muqtadar demanded strong action against the guilty policemen, however, the police took their revenge. A film producer from Hyderabad asked Ramiza B, who had meanwhile returned to her hometown, to come to Hyderabad because he wanted to make a film about her. When she was returning from the house of the film producer in Hyderabad, 3 girls approached her and talked to her. All of a sudden, 2 policemen appeared and asked what she had to do with these girls. The girls said that Ramiza B had taken them for prostitution. Ramiza B was then arrested on the charge of being a procuress of prostitution. She was declared a prostitute and sentenced to 2 years of imprisonment. The police spread all kinds of slander about her. When the trial of the rapists was to start in October 1980, the police requested a transfer of the case to a different and distant state. The Supreme Court agreed on the grounds that the accused might not get a fair trial in Hyderabad. In February, the accused police officers were acquitted of the charges of rape, murder, and extortion. Only 2 constables were declared guilty for wrongful confinement. The Ramiza B case was followed by mass protests, particularly by Muslim youth in Hyderabad city. There was also protest in the feminist magazine Manushi and by some women's organizations. This feminist protest became more articulate when, a year after the events in Hyderabad, a woman called Shakila near Hyderabad experienced similar brutal treatment by the police in the small town of Bhojnagar. I'm really mispronouncing these, but sorry about that. This woman was imprisoned by the police in a room near the police station. She had to cook for the policemen during the day, and at night it is alleged that several policemen raped her. Her husband was arrested on a charge of theft and kept in police custody. On the 10th of October 1979, she and her husband were admitted by the police as unidentified persons to hospital, where Shakila died the very same day. Her husband told a fact-finding commission that she had been raped several times during the night, that he had been beaten and forced to swallow sleeping pills. The body of Shakila was hurriedly buried by the police before a post-mortem could take place. This case led to a statewide agitation in which a number of women's organizations also participated. Thousands of women came out to protest against police atrocities against women. The case which sparked off a nationwide campaign against rape, however, was that of Mathura. Mathura was not even 16 years old. She was raped by 2 constables in a police station. This is how Chaya Zatar describes the event. Quote, Mathura was a landless laborer residing under the Desagnaj police station in Chandrapur district in the state of Maharashtra. 2 constables of the Chandrapur police station had been accused of having raped her at the time of interrogation. Carried on with respect to some other complaint inside the police station, the prosecution went on for 8 years. The accused were acquitted by the lower court. In the appeal to the High Court, they were found guilty and convicted. Finally, in the Supreme Court, the High Court judgment was reversed, and the constables were freed of guilt. The case was closed. End quote. The policemen were acquitted because the Supreme Court accepted the statement of the constables that the rape took place with the consent of Mathura. When this judgment appeared in the press in 1979, a small group of women in Bombay, which later started the Forum Against Rape, or FAR, supported an open letter initiated by 4 law professors requesting the reopening of the Mathura case on the accusation that the Supreme Court judgment was based on male-biased views. This letter and the demand to reopen the Mathura case became the rallying point for a nationwide women's campaign against rape. It was begun by a small feminist groups in Bombay and Delhi, but supported by the women's organizations of the left parties and by a large number of other women's organizations. In the years 1979, 1980, and 1981, numerous rape cases were reported in the Indian press, and the women's movement, which by now had not only gained in number and momentum, but also in a clearer focus on violence against women, came up with one case after the other and demanded a change in the law, stricter punishment for the guilty, and generally a change in the patriarchal and sexist social values, norms, and institutions. I shall not dwell here on the development of this broad movement, which rallied women from all classes, all regions of India, and from all political affiliations around the one issue of violence against women. But I want to point out that the anti rape and anti dowry murder campaigns marked a change in the new Indian women's movement in the sense that it now became clear that feminism was not only an imported Western ideology, but that its struggle against patriarchal and sexist man-woman relations had relevance also for Indian women. What also became clear in the course of these campaigns was the stark fact that violence against women was also threatening middle-class women. Thus, the standard explanation of the Indian left that rape and atrocities against women were only part and parcel of feudal and/or capitalist class relations could no longer be upheld. Not only landless laborer and poor tribal women were among the rape victims, but also respected and educated middle-class women, as in the case of Maya Tyagi shows. Maya Tyagi, a 23-year-old woman from a well-to-do farmer's family, was traveling with her husband by car to attend the wedding of her niece. Maya was pregnant. When one of the tires got a puncture, they stopped near a police station at Bakapat. A policeman in civilian dress came up to the car and started to molest Maya. Her husband then gave him a beating. The man went to the police station and came back with a whole police force, which started firing at them. They tried to escape from the police, but two people inside the car, including Maya's husband, were shot dead. Another man was also shot dead. After this, Maya was dragged out of the car, beaten, robbed of her ornaments, stripped naked, and paraded through the marketplace. She was then brought to the police station where she was raped by seven policemen and arrested. They also offered her their urine to drink. The police alleged in their report that it was not a rape case, but that the men were killed were robbers and that Maya was the mistress of one of them. God. This case, more than any of the others, caused mass protests, an uproar in parliament, protest meetings of many women's organizations, and the demand to punish the guilty. The government, however, was reluctant to take strong action against the police because it feared that its own legitimacy and that of those who are supposed to protect the law and order would be undermined. The Home Minister saw Maya Tyagi, but advised a fact-finding committee also to take Maya to the Prime Minister, Mrs. Indira Gandhi. This is what the fact-finding committee wrote, quote, realizing that her Indira Gandhi's approval was necessary even to do justice in a case where a woman had been barbarously treated, we asked for an appointment with the Prime Minister and went to her with Maya. The Prime Minister listened to us and then merely remarked in English, quote, well, there are different points of view, end quote. She wished to talk to Maya herself. We learned later that she had asked Maya only two questions. First, how much gold was she carrying with her, and did she have a list of the ornaments? And second, under whose advice was she brought to Delhi? End quote. I have quoted this reaction of the Indian government at length because it reveals that for politicians, including the women prime minister, this ghastly case was just something to be used in their political maneuvers. The opposition parties used it to demonstrate that Indira Gandhi's government was not able to protect the honor of women in India. In the wake of these events, there was a whole spate of news items in the press about rapes and other atrocities against women. It became clear that not only policemen raped women, although these gang rapes by the police seemed to be increasing, but the rapists were found among ordinary men. Among them were priests, sadhus, postmen, brothers-in-law, teenage boys, and women's employers, workers, landlords, etc. Gang rapes seem to have become a fashion throughout the country. Moreover, rape cases occurred in all communities, among Hindus, Muslims, and Christians. Not only women of the other communities were raped, but also the women of the community of the rapists. Ramiza B was raped by several Muslim policemen. It had eventually to be admitted that rape occurred in all classes, and that it was on the increase in recent years. Thus, the Home Minister had to state openly that in the years from 1972 to 1978, the following number of rape cases had been officially registered. So 1972, there was 2,562 cases. 1973, 2,861 cases. 1974, 2,862 cases. 1975, 3,283 cases. 1976, 3,611 cases. 1977, 3,821 cases. And 1978, 3,781 cases. These figures are certainly on the low side, but they show the trend towards an increase in rape. Peter Layton from the Marie Stopes Society said that 2 million women were victims of rape.
Trend towards an increase, that double.
Yeah. And that's what's reported. Right?
Right.
We all know. Yeah. And if especially with such a history with corruption within the police.
Oh my God. Right? I'm just saying trend towards an increase is like the most mild way you could put that.
Yeah, right.
Oh my God.
Peter Layton from the Marie Stopes Society said that 2 million women were victims of rape every year. And the chief minister of the state of Karnataka said that a woman was raped every 15.3 hours. A woman was kidnapped every 34 hours. Okay, and then we get to analysis. That violence against women is increasing in India can no longer be denied. Not only the women's movement, but also the press, the politicians, and some of the academics have begun to ask for the causes of the growing atrocities against women. Demographers in India are worried about the shrinking female population in India, but do not know how to explain it. For the educated middle class, it was a kind of shock to admit that India was far from the Gandhian ideal of peaceful society. Hence, the movements against dowry murders and rape were accompanied by reflections by women's organizations, the press, and eventually also some scholars about the reasons why women in India were increasingly becoming victims of male violence or why they were unwanted. The classical left explanation is that women are not economically equal to men in capitalist countries, and that they, therefore, are subjected to male violence, or that laws are passed but not executed, and that the government is responsible for the degradation of the law and order situation. Another explanation from the left is given by Vimla Faroki. She writes, quote, "In the last 3 decades, there has been an alarming degradation in our society values because our rulers are pursuing a path of capitalist development while keeping intact the feudal value system, which offers the weaker sections no protection at all. Women, being the weakest among the weaker sections, naturally suffer the most. This is a situation which calls for serious consideration by the women's organizations, political parties, and everyone working for the welfare and advance of the nation." End quote. That atrocities against women, particularly dowry demands and murders, are part of India's feudal past is also expressed in the following statement of a liberal paper. Quote, "But the increase in the number of such complaints and the notice that they have attracted through the zeal of organizations like Stree Sangharsh Samiti, Nari Rakasha Samiti, Mahila Dakshata Samiti has created the quiet, erroneous impression that Indian bridegrooms are becoming more extortionate. The social system has always encouraged them to strike the best conceivable bargain. The richer and the better placed the groom, the higher his demands. This is one situation where the educated, affluent urban society zealously preserves the values of village India." End quote. It is characteristic of many explanations found in the Indian discourse on violence against women that most of them look at the manifestations of patriarchal and capitalist social relations from a narrow perspective of economic determinism. Thus, Indira Rajaraman explains the spread of dowry among the poorer sections of Indian society, who therefore had practiced bride price, as a result of the decline in the female rural labor force. This decline was caused, according to her, by the increased productivity of modern agriculture. In her article, Economics of Bride Price and Dowry, published in 1983, she applies simplistic capitalist cost-benefit calculations to bride price and dowry, as she totally ignores the different historical and cultural roots of either bride price or dowry. She could define them both as a kind of value equivalent for the women, which may be positive, bride price, or negative, dowry. For her, dowry is a kind of negative bride price, which comes into existence when the economic or productive contribution of the women, namely her housework, her childbearing capacity and her participation in incoming earning work is outweighed by the consumptive costs of feeding and clothing her. This situation has arisen, according to Rajaraman, when women have been thrown out of productive jobs in the informal sector classes. Dowry is thus defined as a value of the cost of supporting a woman over a lifetime if female earnings drop to zero, and something less if female earnings drop below the cost of subsistence, but not all the way to zero. As her whole argument is based on the erroneous assumption that dowry is meant to compensate in part or in full for the full lifetime subsistence of a woman, she can also advance the argument often heard in India that dowry is basically a rotating fund. It is assumed that families have an equal number of sons and daughters. What they pay as dowries for their daughters, they get back when their sons marry. This assumption of the circulatory character of bride price and dowry, based most probably on Levi Strauss's theory of the equation of brides and marriage goods, which move in such circles, does not only ignore Indian reality, but also the basically asymmetric, non-reciprocal, and hypergamous relationship between bride giving and bride receiving families in India. Due to the narrow economistic argumentation, Rajaram is not able to explain the existing situation, namely that now all families with female children are punished due to the dowry system, not only those who have more daughters than boys, because of the assumption that there is an exchange of value equivalence between the bride giving and bride receiving families. She believes that the bride giving family has some bargaining power, vice versa, the bride receiving family. The reality, however, is that the groom's family can almost totally determine the amount of the dowry. The qualities of the groom, his education, caste, family wealth, employment situation, etc., are the measure for the dowry. The bride's beauty, education, employment, family wealth, etc., cannot be used in the bargain to lower the dowry demands of the groom's family. The demands come only from the one side. The other side has to supply the goods on top of the woman. But Rajaraman tries to construct an abstract economic model in the face of reality which has nothing to do with it. Therefore, she can argue that bride price and dowry are basically the same, that the transition from bride price to dowry in the poorer sections of the society need not have any more negative effect than bride price. Quote, whatever the cause of the transition from bride price to dowry, it is clear that the resulting system of dowry payment will have no more extensive punitive impact than the bride price system it replaces, as long as it retains a purely compensatory rotating character. End quote. It is not surprising that the policy implications which follow from this argumentation do not demand structural changes of patriarchal and capitalist social relations. Do not demand a change in the man-woman relationship, do not demand a different valuation of women's contribution, but only a reduction of expenses, combined with more income-generating activities of women. The economist Bardhan, in his review of Barbara Miller's book on the neglect of female children in North India, also explains the declining survival chances of female children in North India by the same economist logic. As women in the south are still employed in large numbers in wet rice cultivation, the sex ratio in these regions is better than in the north, particularly in the wheat growing areas of Punjab and Haryana, where women do not participate much in field work. For him, too, more employment for women is the best remedy against Indian anti-women tendencies. According to his analysis, quote, the differential survival chances of the female child improve with higher female employment rate or with a lower male-female earning differential per day. If there is any validity to this, this means that expanding employment opportunities for women or lowering the male-female differential in rural India is not just a feminist cause. It may actually save the lives of many little girls in rural households, end quote. The problem with explanations like the ones mentioned is that they are all based on an essentially narrow capitalist concept of economy, irrespective of whether they are advanced by Marxists or non-Marxists. This concept excludes, per definition, housework and childbearing and child rearing from the category of productive labor, and thus reduces women to a unit of consumption. Thus, at the center of this argumentation is the concept of women as a non-productive dependent housewife. All violence against women, dowry murders, female feticide, rape, neglect of baby girls, etc., is in the last analysis attributed to this theoretical assumption that women are a liability, a burden because they are economically non-productive entities. The anti-women tendencies can only be remedied According to these theoreticians, if the female sex, following Engel's famous statement, is, quote, reintroduced into social production, end quote, that is, if women are gainfully employed. This logic, however, does not even suffice to explain the existing reality anywhere in the world, let alone in India. It is now known that violence against women is increasing in the West, where at least 40% of the women are engaged in socially productive work outside the household. Wife beating and violence against women occur in all classes and affect women who are mere housewives as well as women who are gainfully employed. Violence against women is also found in the Soviet Union, in China, and in Zimbabwe, where prostitutes are persecuted, and other socialist countries like Yugoslavia. Also in India, it is more than evident that women are beaten in all classes, irrespective of whether they are economically independent or not. Among the women who were murdered for more dowry were many who were highly educated, held a good job, and were indeed income earners for the family. Hauju Bardhan, Raja Raman, and others account for the murder of such economically productive women. Moreover, I know several unmarried Indian women who seek employment in order to save the income to get a dowry together for themselves because their fathers are too poor or have too many girls. I would suspect that more and more quote unquote earning women will be asked by their own families to earn the dowry herself, which is necessary for her to be delivered from the odium of spinsterhood. We have also learned from Manushi Mitra that men give up work altogether as soon as their wives are getting some money from income generating activities. This brief look at reality may suffice to give up that simplistic economistic argument that women's introduction into socially productive labor will liberate them from patriarchal oppression, exploitation, and violence. The stark reality of existing and growing violence against women all over the world is not only a historical criticism of Engels' famous utopia, but also of the concept of capitalism that still prevails unbroken, both with Marxists and non Marxists. The case of dowry makes it sufficiently clear that the capitalist law of the exchange of equivalents does not function or is not applied when women's contribution to the economy is concerned, irrespective of whether this contribution is housework, childbearing and rearing, or wage work or other gainful employment. This is not just an oversight or a relic from the backward feudal village India, but a genuine precondition for modernization and development. In fact, the law of exchange of equivalents must not be applied when it comes to women's work. Therefore, this work is separated out of the capitalist economy and obscured. Women do not stop working in the houses, in the fields, in the factories. They do not stop giving birth to children and bringing them up. But this is work. But this work is no longer considered socially productive work. It is made invisible. Therefore, dowry cannot be a compensation for women's lifelong subsistence, because she herself is de facto the main subsistence worker for the family, often even in the middle class families. If we no longer accept the capitalist separation between productive and non productive work, we will see that, in fact, more men depend on women's work than do women on a male breadwinner. Okay.
Woo woo!
Right?
Hell yeah!
Right? Yeah. All right. Dowry as tribute. Historically and structurally, dowry has nothing to do with compensation for providing the bride with her lifelong subsistence. It is indeed a kind of tribute from the bride giving family to the bride receiving family. The tribute is commanded from one side for the honor the man and his family bestow upon the woman for making her a wife and for incorporating her into his family. This is the original meaning of dowry. It cannot be understood unless one studies it in the original. Sorry, stop that cat. Sorry, my cat. Um, this is the original meaning of dowry. It cannot be understood unless one studies it in the context of the Indian patriarchal system, the caste system, and capitalism. Dowry was developed and legitimized by the Brahmins in their theories of patriarchal marriage and family. According to the Brahmanic marriage concept, the daughter is given away by her father, and he who gives has always to give. The relationship between the bride giving and the bride receiving families is never an egalitarian one. The bride receiving groom's family has, per definition, a higher status. The relationship between the two families is always an asymmetrical, non reciprocal one. As he who gives has always to give, as is the case with a tribute, it is strictly prohibited that the giving side also dare to demand something. In Rajasthan, for example, the bride's family in some communities is not even allowed to visit their daughters-in-law and accept food from them until she has given a son to her family of procreation. Dowry, therefore, is a clear manifestation of a structurally hypergamous, non-reciprocal, asymmetric, and extractive relationship between A, bride-giving and bride-receiving families, and B, between men and women. In this social relation, one side commands the women, the goods, the money, services, offspring, and the other side has to supply these goods. All the giving side receives is the honor of having given a daughter to such and such a man and such a family. The Brahmins had a vital interest in the establishment of this non-reciprocal tributary relationship because this caste of priests neither lived by the work of their hands, as did the other castes, nor from warfare, as did the Kshatriyas. They lived by the gifts given to them by the wealthy and the poor. The givers were only promised spiritual gains for the gifts. This is precisely the relationship between man and woman according to the patriarchal Brahminical conception. The woman gives her body, her work, her children, on top of that, money and their other goods to her husband, and she receives the honor of being a wife. If there is an exchange, it is one between
That's the most masculine focused thing I've heard all day.
Right? It's so fun.
Give me all your stuff, and then you've had the honor of giving me all your stuff.
All your stuff. Yeah.
Oh.
If there is an exchange, it is one between marital and spiritual goods. Due to the high prestige Brahmins and other high castes of the great tradition have in India, even now, the dowry giving families are considered to be of a higher social status than the bride pricing giving families. This status has even been further raised due to the modernization and westernization. As Srinivas pointed out in 1966, Sanskritization processes go along with westernization processes. But whereas he found that economic prosperity was usually preceding a process of Sanskritization of a community, the spreading of dowry among bride price giving castes is rather indicative of a trend to use Sanskritic, which means Brahmanical patriarchal customs, to achieve economic prosperity and westernization. To equate bride price with dowry totally mystifies the basic character of the social relationships which are expressed in these transactions. Whereas bride price, which stems from an originally matrilineal tradition, constitutes indeed a compensation for the loss of women's contribution to the subsistence of her family. The dowry system is a one-sided tribute, in which only the groom's qualities count. Thus, there are differential dowry rates for doctors, officers of the Indian Administration Service, and foreign returned PhDs from the USA or England, which are among the highest dowry commanders, not bidders. Under the bride price system, women's value as a subsistence producer is still acknowledged and positively valued. Under the dowry system, this contribution is devalued and obscured. Analysts who apply capitalist supply and demand logistics to these transactions contribute further to the obscuring of women's contribution. Looking at concrete historical reality can also help to explode another myth which is generally advanced to explain violence against women, particularly in India. This is the argument that dowry and atrocities against women are manifestations of still backward feudal or semi-feudal production relations, which would disappear with modern capitalist or socialist production relations. The opposite is in fact the case. Dowries are most exorbitant in the big cities, among the most advanced men. IAS officers, doctors, engineers, dentists, businessmen, and progressive capitalist farmers. Rape and the molestation of women do not occur in rural India, but increasingly in the big cities. Do not only occur in rural India, but increasingly in the big cities. The most modern technology is used to exterminate the female sex and sex selection tests and abortion. Hence, it is not village India that is holding back the civilizing process among the urban, educated middle class, but it is capital patriarchal civilization itself, which is the father of barbarism. Atrocities against women are also not alien to capitalism, but are manifestations of its basically predatory character, which it has never lost in the course of history. The case of dowry and the business made by doctors in sex pre-selection tests can help to understand this character. Dowries are increasingly not appropriated by the bride-receiving family, as is often assumed, but the bridegroom himself. This is particularly the case with the category of high dowry fetchers. According to a survey of 105 families in the South Indian city of Bangalore, The dowry was handed over to the son-in-law himself in 57% of the cases. These men may demand high dowries in cash and kind as a compensation for the money spent on their education, but in many cases they use it for an initial investment to start a business, a lawyer's office, a private practitioner's clinic, an engineering office, etc. The dowry demands also increasingly include expensive and prestigious modern consumer items like a car, a TV set, a scooter, a video set, which are appropriated by the young man himself. Only some of these items are for the whole family, like refrigerators or furniture. Among the poorer sections, these modern commodities may be a Western suit, a radio, a wristwatch, Western shirts. The institution of dowry can thus be seen as a source of wealth which is accumulated not by means of the man's own work or by investing his own capital, but by extraction, blackmail, and direct violence. The command over dowry gives all men the chance to get a hold of money which they may not have earned and to have access to modern consumer items which they may otherwise be able to buy. The dowry creates a market for such goods, even among people who have to take up consumption loans in order to secure their survival. It paves the way for the spread of market values and market commodities even among the poor. So we get to the next subsection. Are men rapists by nature? The one that the controversial one by some. All right. Whereas
Yeah, here we go. I'm sorry, but I feel like this is an amazing, no matter what she says, it's going to be an incredible,
insight.
ending to this whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Are men rapists by nature? Whereas mainly economists, whereas mainly economistic reasons have been forwarded to explain the increase of dowry and dowry murders, the rapid spread of rape, police rape, gang rape, and other sexual assaults on women is mostly explained by the biologistic argument that men's sexuality is basically aggressive and that the woman is basically passive and masochistic. The women's groups who demanded a revision of the definition of consent in the paragraph on rape in the Indian Penal Code have pointed out that it is practically impossible for a woman to prove that she had not consented to sexual intercourse because resistance to the assault is recognized as non-consent only under the fear of death or grave injury. This means that unless a woman is able to forward evidence that she had been half killed, it is assumed that she had consented to intercourse. This definition has been amended, meanwhile, under the pressure of public protest by women, but the ideology which is expressed in the rape law in India, as in most other countries, is still very much there. This ideology consists of a number of male myths about women and sex. These myths are found in most male-dominated societies, and it is the institutions and social relations they are meant to prop up which determine people's behavior, and not the written laws. It is useful to look at some of the myths about rape put forward by men in all patriarchal societies, also in India. 1. Rape does not exist because no woman can be raped against her will. Women like to be raped. 2. Women are masochists by nature. They do not enjoy sex unless they are forced to have intercourse. They want to be beaten and subordinated by force. In the refuges for battered women, which feminists organized in Germany and other parts of Europe, many women say that their men used to beat them and then force them to have intercourse with them. 3. A woman who is raped has provoked the man by her behavior, that is, she is behaving like a prostitute. Most women all over the world have first to prove in court that they are not prostitutes. They are considered the guilty party, not the man. The Misa B case gives glaring evidence of this. 4. It is a woman's fault if she is raped. Why does she wear clothes which provoke men or walk alone after a certain time in the evening? Why does she go without male protection, etc.? But the Indian cases, as well as many others, prove that the protectors, for example, the police or male relatives, are the rapists themselves. 5. Rape takes place only outside marriage. Intercourse within marriage is, according to the definition of law, based on mutual consent. We all know that as much, or even more, sexual violence takes place within marriage as outside it. Wife beating is often connected with the refusal of women to have intercourse. 6. Rape occurs mainly in the poorer and less educated sections of society. Hence, it is a manifestation of poverty and backwardness. We have seen that rape, or more generally, sexual violence, is increasing in the urban centers and also among the so-called advanced sections, particularly if one includes sexual violence by family members and husbands in this category. 7. Rape is a feature of feudal or semi-feudal production relations. That is, it is mainly a class issue. The feudal lords and their sons rape the women of the poor peasants. There is harmony between the poor peasant and his wife. These feudal forms of sexual violence will disappear with a change of property relations. This myth is usually put forth by the left. It is not able to explain the increase in sexual violence in the urban centers, in areas which have seen more capitalist development, or the increase in violence against women in the poorer sections of the society by the men of these sections. Okay. Hold on, I just need a sip. All right. Most of these myths blame the woman that is the victim. These myths also say something about men and their relation to sex. They imply that a man, if provoked, cannot resist and has to assault women. This means his sex urge, or as most people put it, his sexual instinct, needs immediate satisfaction. As women are seen as basically masochistic and mute, subhuman beings, men are seen as aggressive, if not sadistic, by nature. This nature can be controlled by severe laws, by strict social taboos on certain categories of women, mothers and sisters, and by the women themselves, who are expected to behave in such a way that the aggressive sadistic sex instinct of men does not get out of control. I wonder whether lawmakers and male scholars have ever thought about the caricature of a human being they have made of themselves by subscribing to such ideas. But it is not only these popular myths which have influenced the common ideology on women, men, and sex. What is more consequential is the fact that most of these myths have been propped up, scientifically elaborated, and quote unquote proved by a number of highly respected scholars and their theories. Whole libraries have been
Men are
filled with
beasts.
books.
Science says so. Goddamn.
Yeah, that's what. Whole libraries have been filled with books which try to prove that men's sexual drives are basically aggressive and uncontrollable, and that women either have no sexuality of their own, or that it is their biological destiny to satisfy the aggressive needs of men. To mention only the most famous among these scholars and their schools, Darwin held that evolution was based on control over the aggressive and disruptive instincts of the males and their competition for sexual control over the females. The neo-Darwinians, or Darwinians, social Darwinians, and the whole school of behavioral sciences, which dominates American social sciences, and particularly the social biologists, basically subscribe to this concept of man. In particular, scholars like Konrad Lorenz, Leonel Tiger, and Robert Fox have popularized this concept in the last 20 years, eponymized, as we saw, in the man-the-hunter model. Therefore, aggressiveness is part of a man's nature and cannot be changed through social reform or revolution. I am sure that there are many male and female social scientists who are against rape for moral reasons, but who nevertheless subscribe to these concepts and theories. If they had a more critical attitude to the hidden biases in scientific thought, they would be able to see that these so-called value-free sciences are based on certain myths which serve to legitimize oppression, exploitation, and subordination of other human beings, women, low castes, classes, peoples, and nations. They would, for instance, see that biology or nature does not compel any males to rape. Rape does not exist in the animal world. It is an invention of the human male. The survival of the see, there I kind of get it. I think it's a little bit wrong. I think there's aggressiveness in all species. Like, take spiders. They cannibalize them. They cannibalize the male species after fucking them. Right? So, but the thing is, human beings may be animals, but we are sentient. We are conscious of thought. And that is what really drives us.
Right. The whole point of that is we're supposed to be able to do better.
Yeah. We understand. We're not unconsciously moving through the world without thought.
Right. No, you understand you're hurting her, asshole.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't make sense. So, for evolution, even in an evolution sense, really, if you think about it, because we're social animals, we're creatures who already need to use community to help evolution because of resources. So, actually, violence and oppression within that society is detrimental to that evolution process.
But, yeah, no, and I heard recently Charles Darwin quoted as saying that cooperation is like the ultimate evolutionary advantage or something like that. His whole he apparently never said survival of the fittest.
Yeah, he didn't.
So that's fun.
It was a Republican American Republican who was
Oh
trying
my
for
God.
office. Yeah.
That's fun. I wonder, you don't know which one?
Yeah. I forget his name.
I would love to. I will have to look that up
It's a
too. I
really
have the psychotic.
unknown Republican who said this.
Oh, I will
I'll look
probably have.
that
I will
later.
probably know him because I've spent way too much listening to way too long listening to Republicans blowhards. But I have the
I think this is
psychopath
like back in
versus
the 30s
psychotic
though.
thing. Yeah, but
Yeah, I'll look into that because I know where to find that information. I know where to go look, and I'll come back
oh,
to you with
okay,
that. I just can't
okay,
remember off the tip of my tongue
okay.
what his name is, but I'll
I
come
have the
back
other
with you
thing
and I'll
for
give
you
you
when
that.
we're done too. I have the other thing for you. It's fun. So when we're
Okay,
done,
all right. Survival of the fittest among strongmen, or sorry, survival of the fittest, the strongmen means that the conquerors, the victors, are always right. This is precisely the ideology behind the rape laws and rape myths. We are unable to see that those who subscribe to this sort of science also subscribe to fascism and imperialism. Even Sigmund Freud, the founder of the psychoanalytic school and the discoverer of the subconscious, was influenced by these myths and their scientific legitimization by the evolutionists. Yeah, but he was also propagandist, but I digress. He also believed that culture was based on the repression and sublimation of these violent male sex drives. That's true. His theory of the his theory of the epidus, sorry, his theory of the epidus, that's right, complex is basically a theory of male sexual competition between fathers and sons for one sex object, the mother. So true. Ew. Also, Freud subscribes to the theory that male sexuality is active, aggressive in its neurotic forms, sometimes sadistic, and female sexuality is considered to be passive and even masochistic. Women, according to Freud, can reach her full adult sexuality only by accepting her natural female role, that is, by giving up her immature clitoral sexuality and switching over to vaginal sexuality, which is necessary for the man to satisfy his sex drive. All right, buddy. It is surprising that a serious scholar like Freud consolidates the theory of vaginal orgasm as the mature form of female sexuality, although he must have known that the vagina does not contain nerve ends and hence does not produce an orgasm. He knew that the clitoris is the active sexual organ of women, which can produce a female orgasm without penetration of the vagina. But in his preoccupation with the male sexuality, he defined women as incomplete or castrated men, the clitoris as a small penis, and the attempt of women to change their subordinate role in society a result of penis envy. You know, that reminds me of the trans movement. Some of that has come back around. You know, the whole clitoris is just the same as a penis.
yeah, it was wrong then and it's wrong now.
Yeah.
You're the same kind of wrong as Sigmund Freud, guys. Congratulations. That must be
Yeah,
exciting.
right? Who was filled up to the brim with cocaine.
Yeah, and died
Who
from
thought
mouth cancer.
everything came down to fucking his dick.
Dude, he died of mouth cancer because he was either never weaned or unconsciously preoccupied with sucking dick. Your interpretation is as good as mine.
Good call. Okay.
Sorry.
Back to where we were. Scholars would do well to take a very critical look at these theories before adopting them as their theoretical framework, because they imply that both male and female sexuality are only biologically determined. These theories do not explain why certain parts of the male and female bodies were given prominence at a particular time in history and others not. It needed, for instance, the feminist movement in the West to rediscover the clitoris as an independent female sex organ. In many parts of Africa, the clitoris is removed by circumcision when girls are 9 to 12 years old. But the women in Europe and in other parts of the world too had been psychologically circumcised so they no longer knew their bodies and did not know what an orgasm was. One cannot talk about men without talking about women. The ideology on rape and male sexuality criticized above or previously, had its complementary features in the self-concepts of women all over the world. No aggressor can maintain permanent control over those he has conquered and subordinated unless the subordinated are made to accept the state of affairs as nature imposed, or what amounts to the same as God given. The inventors of the patriarchal ideology on men have also invented a fitting ideology for women. That is the ideology of the eternal victim, the ideology of self-sacrifice. In the modern Western version, it is the ideology of female masochism. Hindu religion and popular belief idolize the self-sacrificing woman in the role of the mother and the pativrata, whatever that means. Woman has no identity of her own. She is born to serve others, mainly husbands and sons. She has no autonomy over her own life, her own body, her own sexuality. She is a means, an object, not a subject. The figures of Sati, Sita, and other self-sacrificing women of the Hindu religion are advanced as models for girls even now. They are widely popularized by textbooks, films, and novels. No wonder that rape victims, rather than hit back or defend themselves, commit suicide because their honor as a good woman is destroyed. In the self-perception of most women are feelings that they are weak, that they need male protection, that they cannot fight back or should not fight back. Self-immolation, either de facto or symbolically, is the act through which they try to regain their humanity. I'll fight back, they'll fucking rip your balls off, but
Dude, self-immolation. You brought in to talk about the trans minute a minute ago. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah.
Like that reminds me of that.
Right?
Those girls out there setting themselves on fire.
Fucking crazy.
Not like metaphorically with hormones and social.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I didn't take it so literally this time.
No, the fact that she extended it to mean to be metaphorical, I'm like, yeah, wow, that's everywhere. Holy shit.
Yeah. All right. Let's see here. Okay, as in the case of men. Oh, do you want to? Yeah, there we go. In the case of men, women mostly do not recognize how they are subscribing to the ideology of the rapist by clinging to the self-sacrificing ideal of womanhood. The men, particularly those who make money propagating this ideology of the weak woman, cynically put the blame on women, like the film maker Dinesh Thakur, who said in a discussion on rape, quote, "Why do women glamorize and idolize a woman who makes sacrifices?" End quote. But he denies that by having rape scenes and also the self-sacrificing women in his films that he contributes to this ideology for the sake of profit. This is another classical case of putting the blame on the victim while profiting from the attitudes criticized. It is just not enough to say that women want to be victims and idolize self-sacrifice. It is necessary to say that this ideology was invented and is maintained in the interests of men who rule over women. But what is more important, this ideology is this outcome of thousands of years of direct and structural violence against women, first practiced in some patriarchal societies, but universalized today by capitalism. Those who are constantly oppressed directly and women have no autonomy over their lives even now, have no other psychological choice but to interpret what they are forced to do into voluntariness if they do not want to lose all self-respect as a human being. This is the deepest reason why women also share in the ideology of their oppressors and subscribe to the notion that their honor, their family's honor, is violated when they are raped. This is the reason why Maya Tyagi's mother could say that she wished her daughter was dead because as a result of rape, she had diminished her family's honor. As long as the rape victims themselves, the mothers and sisters, believe in this concept of honor, which they cherish more than the autonomy of a woman over her body and life, they are in tacit complicity with the rapists. Therefore, it is important that women's groups like Sri Sangharsh in Delhi attack the notion that rape is a matter of dishonoring women, of humiliating women. This group states, quote, "For us, rape is an act of hatred and contempt. It is a denial of ourselves as women, as human beings. It is the ultimate assertion of male power," end quote. If men were rapists by nature, then we should not witness an increase of rape cases in India and in the rest of the world. This is important, I think. The most urgent issue for men and women today is to understand the reasons for this increase in sexual violence. What are the factors that contribute to it? As the man-the-hunter concept offers no explanation for this increase, there must be reasons which do not lie in the male nature, in his genetic infrastructure, but are social, economic, and historical, as they have always been.
That is such a good point. Holy shit.
That is a good point, right? Why would there be an increase in its nature? It would be stable.
Yep.
Right? Yeah. What can we witness today is a general brutalization of life, a merciless struggle of the strong against the weak, the rich against the poor, men against women. This, of course, is a manifestation of the contradictions of a society and a concept of man based on the man the hunter model and a predatory dominance relationship between man and nature, a concept that emerged, as we saw, with capitalism. But why do these contradictions manifest themselves more now than earlier? Sexual violence is part and parcel of the patriarchal man woman relationship. But why are dowry deaths increasing? Why are rapes increasing? Why are the so called advanced sections of society, the urban middle class, affected by these contradictions? What seems to be happening is the following: the traditional controls and checks of repressive patriarchal morality are breaking down in India and other third world countries, but not through liberalization of sexual morality, but by the peculiar way in which capitalism penetrates these societies. The breakdown of the traditional morality is faster in the classes which have made a lot of money in recent years. The men of these classes liberate themselves of many checks and obligations they formerly had, vice versa, women of the lower classes and of their own class. They imitate the big white man in the West, who are their model of modern man. That is why they adopt Western dress, go abroad for education, accept Western science, they import blue firms, but they do not want their women to be emancipated. Capitalism gives them the means to move up and share in the new international male culture, but they want their women to remain the repositories of what they consider to be their traditional culture. The women are supposed to follow the traditional ideals of womanhood. This contradiction between an increasingly international male culture of the educated middle class of men in underdeveloped countries and the jealousy with which they preserve the so-called traditional culture of their women as the main symbol of their national identity is leading to an increased polarization between men and women in these countries. The most well-known example is Iran and Muslim fundamentalism in this respect. The Iranian women are made to wear the veil, but
Okay,
the men do
hold
not
on a
go back to
minute. Hold
traditional
on a
dress.
minute. Hold on a
Yep,
minute.
yep.
Like, she strikes again. I have to go let her out of the driveway. So I'm going to walk away for a minute. Keep going, but like if I don't respond quickly, it's because I'm on the other side of the house. I'll be right back.
Okay. Yes. This this dimension of the relationship of men of colonized countries to men of
Never
colonizing
mind. He
countries.
got it. I just wanted to brag. He's a cool guy. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry.
I would like to call the big men little men syndrome. The little men imitate the big men. Those who have enough money can buy all those things the big men have, including women. Those who do not have enough money still have the same dreams. It is on this contradiction that the Indian film industry thrives. The men are depicted as modern, fashionable, westernized heroes. The women represent traditional India, and there always has to be rape in these films, but kissing is not allowed by the censors, which is crazy, right? The maintenance of this contradiction is not only a moral issue, but is closely related to the specific type of capitalist development in India. Films and sex are growth industries in India. The surplus generated through the exploitation of rural labor, for example, in the Green Revolution areas, is not invested productively to give people work and better wages. It is rather exported to the cities and invested in cinemas, the factories of dreams and illusions. There is a clear connection between the profit interests of a capitalist class and the propagation of sexual violence and rape in films. The little men who don't have jobs and opportunities and will not go abroad like the film heroes and the men of the urban rich are the main audience of these films and bring the big money to the big men. To compensate for all their frustrations in real life, the filmmakers offer them a rape scene so that they can identify with the aggressor in a way which does not endanger class domination. As targets for their aggressive tendencies, they are offered women, but not the big men. However, when we analyze concretely the reports on rape cases in India, we find very little or nothing of a need to satisfy an irresistible sexual urge. If any urge appears in these scenes, it is the desire to humiliate, violate, torture, to show that man is the master. We find that rape is in many cases used as an instrument of one class of men to punish or humiliate another class of men. This is most clearly manifest in many rape cases, which are taking place in rural areas. Whenever poor peasants and agricultural laborers try to get their legal rights, for example, minimum wages or the land that they has been promised to them, they are taught a lesson, end quote. They, quote unquote, they are, quote unquote, put in their place. But this invariably involves raping the women. Why? What is the connection between raping some women and their men's claims to land? This shows clearly the link in the minds of the ruling classes between control over means of production, land, and the workers' control over women. If people demand land, they are punished by raping the women of this class. Rape is thus an instrument to maintain both existing class and existing men-women relations. The struggle which takes place is in fact a struggle between big men and small men. The women are used in the struggle as objects to prove the manhood of the big men and their power. This power does not only consist of money or control over more property, it is also power stemming from control over arms and the use of direct violence. This becomes particularly clear in the case of police or army rape. The power of the police exists neither in money nor property, but the police have arms, and control over arms gives them a chance to imitate the big men. Of course, in recent years, the police in India have been so often set against the people, against the weak, and for the protection of the economically strong that they simply take what they can get by virtue of their arms. I do not think that one can say that they rape because they want sexual satisfaction. Rape and sexual torture have often been used by police that, most notably, sadistic motives are stronger than the need to satisfy their sexual desires. The police rapes are perhaps the clearest manifestation of the outcome of a basically repressive patriarchal system. Those who are supposed to keep bourgeois law and order are de facto beyond any law because they control arms. To call for more police, even if they are female, to check the increase in rape is, therefore, self-defeating. Police rapes also show the interconnection between the economic motive of getting rich quickly by using direct violence and blackmail and violence against women. Lastly, conclusion. The discussion of violence against women has focused mainly on the situation in India, with which I am more familiar, but it would not be difficult to find other examples of direct and structural violence as an integral part of sex and class relations, as well as the international division of labor. The Western feminist movement has, since its inception, highlighted this aspect of the advanced capitalist countries. The discussion on clitorectomy and its modernization in Africa has revealed another dimension of violence against women. The Almaniac women in Russia, produced as a samizdat by a group of feminists in the Soviet Union, gives evidence of the brutalization of the man-woman relationship also in this fatherland of the socialist revolution. And the reports which have recently appeared from China about female feticide and anti-women tendencies in the wake of population control policies of the state are evidence of the fact that modernization policies go along with neo-patriarchal tendencies even in a socialist country. Violence against women, therefore, seems the main common denominator that epitomizes women's exploitation and oppression, irrespective of class, nation, caste, race, capitalist, or socialist systems, third world or first world. If this is so, what theoretical and practical conclusions are we to draw from this recognition? After the previous discussion, we are now in a better position to answer the question whether violence and coercion are necessarily part of all production relations women are involved in, or whether they are peripheral to them. From our discussion, it should be clear that violence against women can neither be adequately explained by narrow economistic arguments basically inherent in capitalist supply and demand calculations, nor by biologistic arguments about inherently sadistic male nature. All our examples give evidence of the fact that violence against women is a historically produced phenomenon that is closely related to exploitative men, women, class, and international relations. All these relations are today more or less integrated into systems of accumulation. These systems of accumulation are either capitalist or market orientated, or they are centrally planned or socialist, irrespective of their ideological differences. The accumulation of capital in both systems is based on the expropriation of subsistence producers from their means of production. The centers of the capitalist market economies, the expropriated men, were turned into the new class of free wage earners who own nothing but their labor power. But as owners of their labor power, they formally belong to the category of bourgeois free citizens, who are defined as those who own property and who can thus enter the contractual relationships with each other on the basis of the principle of exchange of value equivalence. Therefore, the proletarian men could be seen as historical subjects, as free persons, also by the theoreticians of a socialist transformation. The women, however, have never been defined as free historical subjects in a bourgeois sense. Neither the women of the class of owners of means of production, nor the women of the class of proletarians were owners of their own person. They themselves, their whole person, their labor, their emotionality, their children, their body, their sexuality were not their own, but belonged to their husband. They were property. Therefore, following the formal logic of capitalism, they could not be owners of property. If they are formally not included into the category of property owners, which the male proletarians are, in the sense that they are owners of their own labor power, of their bodies, they also cannot become free citizens or historical subjects. This means that the civil liberties of the bourgeois revolution are not meant for them. This, I think, is the deeper reason why voting rights were given so late to women and why rape in marriage is not considered as a crime. Remember, this was, written a while ago. So some of the laws changed. Like, I think was it 1994 that laws changed when it comes to marriage, rape, like rape in marriage. Yeah. So this is a time when that was legal, even in the West. But I digress. I keep going. If women, according to the bourgeois logic, cannot be free subjects because they are property and not owners of property, objects themselves, then it is also not possible to enter into a contract with them, as it is possible with the free proletarian who is, at least formally, owner of his labor power, which he can sell to whomever he wants. The labor contract between capitalist and proletarian is based on the assumption that two free subjects enter into a relationship of an exchange of equivalence. Such a contract is not possible with women. If one wants to extract anything in terms of labor or services from them, it is necessary to apply violence and coercion because although women are not defined as free subjects, they nevertheless have their own will, which has to be subordinated by force under the will of the free subjects of civilized society, the men, as well as under the law of capitalist accumulation. This violent subordination of women under men and the process of capital accumulation was first acted out on a mass scale during the witch hunt in Europe, but it has ever since constituted the infrastructure upon which so-called capitalist production relations could be established, namely the contractual relationship between owners of labor power
Wait,
and owners of means of production. But
I'm sorry. That seemed like uh, a summary of the last book that we read. Can
yeah,
you read those last couple lines again?
I'll do the whole paragraph. Sorry.
Okay.
This violent subordination of women under men and the process of capital accumulation was first acted out on a scale during the witch hunt in Europe, but it has ever since constituted the infrastructure upon which so-called capitalist production relations could be established, namely the contractual relationship between owners of labor power and owners of means of production. Without this infrastructure of non-free, coerced female or colonial labor in the broadest sense, the non-coerced contractual labor relations of the free proletarians would not be possible. Women and colonial peoples were defined as property, as nature, not as free subjects, who could enter a contract. Both had to be subordinated by force and direct violence. Economically, this violence is always necessary when people still have some access to means of production. For example, peasants do not voluntarily begin to produce commodities for an external market. They first have to be forced to produce things which they do not consume themselves, or they are evicted by force from their fields, or tribes are driven by force from their territory and resettled in strategic villages. Women's first and last means of production is their own bodies. The worldwide increase in violence against women is basically concentrated on this territory, over which the big men have not yet been able to establish their firm and lasting dominance. This dominance is not only based on narrowly defined economic considerations, although these play an important role, but the economic motives are intrinsically interwoven with political ones, with questions of power and control. Without
So
violence
it's a
and coercion,
feminist backlash, basically.
yeah, without violence and coercion, neither the modern men nor the modern states would be able to follow their model of progress and development, which is based on dominance over nature. Within the capitalist market economics, within the capitalist market economies, violence against women can therefore be explained by the necessity for ongoing primitive accumulation, which, according to Andre Gunder Frank, constitutes the precondition for the so-called capitalist accumulation process. In a third world country like India, the people who have become free subjects in the sense described previously is rather small. The fact that civil rights are enshrined in the Indian Constitution does not affect the de facto production relations, which are to a large extent based on violence and coercion. We have seen that violence against women as an intrinsic element of the ongoing primitive accumulation of capital constitutes the fastest and most productive method of if a man wants to join the brotherhood of the free subjects of owners of private property. Violence against women and extracting women's labor through coercive labor relations are, therefore, part and parcel of capitalism. They are necessary for the capitalist accumulation process and not peripheral to it. In other words, capitalism has no use to strengthen or even to invent patriarchal men-women relations if it wants to maintain its accumulation model. Sorry. If all women in the world had become free wage earners, free subjects, the extraction of surplus would, to say the least, be severely hampered. This is what women as housewives, workers, peasants, prostitutes from the third world and first world countries have in common. So, yeah, that is the conclusion.
And I missed it because he was asking me a question about the puppy.
Oh my God.
I'm not even going to lie. I'm so sorry.
Don't worry about it. It's all fine. Basically, what she's saying is that no matter what kind of intrinsically bonds women from first and the third world is the extraction of their labor, which is invisible, right? And it wouldn't be able to last because it's part of the primitive accumulation process that's invisibilized. So,
Yeah.
like here, you have housewives, which is reproduction, which is work, which is labor, and it's not being seen as productive labor. It's
Yeah.
the same in other areas. And so that's and in terms of like the prostitution, especially in the third world where they usually have pimps or their family pimps them out to like even just housework, reproduction, things like that from their body, right? Or like I know that in India there's a big thing where it comes to the surrogacy, right? Of Western couples buying women's wombs in the third world, or even Depo-Provera birth control being women's bodies are used as their test subjects. So it's really, and they're not getting anything in return because their husbands are able to use them as property to gain money from these experiments of their bodies. So it basically our whole and without all that accumulation process of what capitalists with that expropriate and take for themselves from that, the whole capitalist society would pretty much collapse if it didn't have the primitive accumulation that is still going on right now, which is true, and which one of my critiques of Marx has always been the idea that Marx would put forth of primitive accumulation process will end once you get to a certain level of progress, which is not true. It is constant and it is necessary for it to exist, for capitalism to exist, is the ongoing primitive accumulation of different status of people within capitalism. But yeah, basically that's what it means and what you missed as a conclusion.
It's just going to keep on eating everything up until, I mean, there's nothing left, I guess.
Yeah.
Because infinite growth is impossible, but
on a finite planet. Oh, I know.
Yeah. So what on earth? I'm sorry. You don't have to summarize Marx, but like, I just wonder what on earth his argument was that it'll just magically stop one day.
Well,
like I say, you don't have to give a Marx.
I don't understand myself too much because it doesn't make sense logically. So like he makes arguments, but he doesn't really answer them. Where he gets some of his idea, like he doesn't. And the thing is, De Capital is so very, very, very detailed and very specific that that's what's a red flag too. It's also a red flag for thinking that communism, it will just solve everything that capitalism has done. For one reason, they are so much more similar of a way to organize society than people want to believe. They're very similar. Very similar.
You know what? It doesn't surprise me. Catholicism and Anglicanism are pretty similar, and people fought wars for that for centuries. So
there's this idea that they're very, very opposite, right? But they're not.
Yeah.
They're mostly similar in exact ways, except for one is private owned, the other is state owned. But
Yeah.
the whole accumulation process, extortion, that's similar. That's the same damn thing.
Yeah. Well, because I can't
So
imagine a
that's
world
and the,
without
what the
that.
problem with Marx that I have is that he's so detailed, and yet when it comes to when he talks about communism, he doesn't explain it. He doesn't. There's no explanation, and it's so non-detailed. As in where his
Right.
critique of capitalism is, which is a red flag to me. I'm like, you're not explaining yourself well, but you're just assuming that this would work. Basically, that's what I got up from it. But yeah. So
A
yeah,
male
like I said
philosopher
before,
who's
like
so
I do
arrogant
think
as
it's
to think his
important to read
ideas would
Marx.
work.
I do think it's important to read Marx's theory of capitalism because, which is actually what Marxism is. It's just critiquing capitalism, right? It's not communism. It's just critiquing
Yeah.
capitalism. And I
Right.
think it's important for people to read it because a lot of things he does get right, and it shows that it's played out his critique, his whole the manifesto, or whatever. That's not Marxism. That's just was a pamphlet that he wrote for the Communist Party that he subscribed to. Right? That's not Marxism. That's something else completely different. So yeah, I think it's really important to read actually Des Capital, because although
Okay.
he gets some of it wrong, I think it's really important for people to understand how capitalism works, because a lot of what he says is right. So yeah, that's
It's a
just
classic for a reason.
yeah.
Right on.
I know, but most people talk about it as if they and make assumptions about what's inside without ever reading it. Or when
Well, I
they
try not
do
to
try
do
to
that,
bring up
but then
something,
economics isn't really my forte.
yeah.
So.
But then when they do bring up something, they're usually quoting from the Communist Manifesto, which is not Marxism. So it's just like, it's frustrating. It can be
Got it.
frustrating.
Yeah, no, I
And it's
understand
fine if you
the
don't know,
principle.
if it's never been your thing, like economy, like in economics, all that. But don't pretend to know when you don't. Like, don't pretend you've read it. Oh no, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about other people, because it really, people will talk about, will go in almost in depth about critiquing it, but not really detailed. But they will rant about like what it is about without reading it. And then so they make this. It makes you look like an ass when you fucking quote like the Communist Manifesto, because obviously you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You're just
I
propagating
never want
shit.
to look like an ass by quoting Marx. I never want that to happen to me. That sounds like one
Yeah.
of my worst nightmares. So I tend not to do it at all.
Yeah, well, that's what I would think. People would be afraid of, like, no showing your ass like that, showing that you're just making shit up, because that's what basically you're doing when
Yeah.
you rant about these things, because you just
I
don't believe in it. You've never read it. You don't even know which one it is. which
no,
part
that's
of it
some
works with
kind
it.
of narcissistic thing where people want to look smart without, because they just don't want to
Yeah,
admit that
without
they don't
doing
know
the work
things.
of being smart. Yeah, I know. And pretending that they
No,
have all the answers.
yeah,
That pulling
because
out
in
of
order to
their
learn
ass. So.
something, you have to admit that you don't know it first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. You can't just pull it out of your
Anyways,
ass and expect it to be like just like true. But I
right.
think some of these people do believe that it's true. But like if they think about it for just 1 second, you know that you're pulling it out of your ass. So why are you putting so much faith in that, of which you preconceived of? It makes no sense to me. I don't understand that. I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know. That's obviously a failure of, like, I don't know if I forget what it's called, the thing where you and the outside world are like distinct in your own mind,
Yeah.
It's a failure of that, whatever you call that.
Yeah.
Oh, and I looked up the psychotic versus psychopathic thing.
Okay.
Before I forget. From school. I already did that today. Okay. They're not the same thing.
No, I know they're not the same thing, but I thought one kind of was part of one's psychosis happens a lot in psychopathy.
No,
not that psychosis is limited to psychopathy, but being a psychopath, you have states of psychosis.
Well, according to WebMD, they are often conflated, but they're not the same thing. And neither of them is actually an official diagnosis that you'd ever get anyway.
Yeah, well, that's changed it to antisocial behavior or something, personality disorder,
right?
Psychopathy. Yeah.
And instead of saying that people are psychotic, experts say that a person has psychosis, which, okay, I feel like that's splitting hairs. We're just going to make it passive voice, and that makes it sound less aggressive, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. And psychopath isn't a mental health condition. Psychopathy is probably a neurodevelopmental disorder that makes it difficult for the person to have empathy for others.
So, a psychopath. You just don't want to use the word psychopath.
Right.
So, yeah.
But so there's psychotic, which is when you have psychosis, which is where it isn't usually brought on by a mental health condition, medical condition, or it is usually brought on by a mental health condition, medical condition, or substance abuse or withdrawal.
Yeah, see, that's what I consider psychopathy, having, being, since it's a mental condition, that there's tendencies of psychosis.
Like, I mean, I guess.
Mental condition, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
I mean,
really,
they don't live
in fucking gumbly goop, like, and renaming certain disorders and personality disorders into something else, and constantly evolving or changing and splitting hairs and
yeah. It's frustrating because on the one hand I have a real strong interest in that stuff, and on the other hand I know it's all nonsense. But then, like I said earlier, your guess is as good as mine, right? Like, if nobody knows what's going on, like if it's a scientist honestly don't know what's going on, then hey, maybe I'm right.
Right. I think it's in a way that, like, they're just trying to use generalities to sort of understand, like, someone's mental condition at the time is okay, but this idea of like say, for like, a lot of it I do think comes from a place of conformity and wanting to conform individual peoples into a sick society that is causing these outcomes in the first place, and they never really direct to that, and I think that's where I think the problem lies.
Oh yeah 100%. Whether we should look to the source of the problems instead of just trying to figure out what they are and treating them.
Yeah, and that's why I have issues with things like ADHD. And the reason why is because I think a lot of that is because we are being commodified, actually. And that, like, of course, people don't want to just sit around. Of course, people want to, like, you get stir crazy. That's normal. Especially if you're doing the wrong
the environment literally has an effect on your neurological development.
Yeah.
So then that shit gets baked in, if you will.
Yeah.
So that it's, and there's various syndromes, I think, that fall under that category.
Yeah, me too. Like, I think it creates problems, but when you, like, sort of diagnose these problems as being some sort of mental issue with that individual just being, like, just that way, instead of realizing it's just I think a reasonable reaction to parts of the society that they are subsumed in, right?
Oh, anxiety and depression, absolutely.
Right? And even
That's
ADHD, not wanting to stay still, with not being able to focus. Well, I mean, look at the fucking state of the world we live in. A lot of the times we have to focus on stupid shit. And fucking continuously, we don't have freedom of, like, freedom of knowledge and intellectual gain, or really, we're supposed to just, like, figure out what we want to get, like, go through school, spit us out to get a job, and work as a cog. So, of course, we're going to have issues. We have screens that individualize us, and computers try to individualize us, staring at a screen, sitting down for hours on end. Of course, we're going to have a hard time with focus. Like, it's just a natural outcome, you would think, of that being put into that box.
It's an extremely unnatural environment, and oh my God. Right now, I'm reading as a bedtime story a book about animals in a zoo. Like, I did not pick this. He picked it. And I'm working on the video about simulation theory, and I'm like,
oh, I saw your comment about simulation theory or something. Or
did you vote in my poll? Did you vote in my poll?
I think I did.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. I got a pretty good turnout.
Girl in a materialist world.
Yeah.
I had to think, I'm like, which one did I choose? Yeah. It was an easy one. I swept by that one fast. I was like, oh, yep, boop.
Right, yeah. No, nobody so far has chosen the no, we're totally inside a computer, which is good because I'm going to come out swinging against that one.
Right. As you should.
I'd hate to alienate anyone that's already a member of my, but we've always been materialists around. Oh shit, are you there?
Oh, I'm back. Sorry about my fucking connection.
Yeah. We've always been materialists here on this channel. So
yeah. Well, like before I said, I'm very literal thinking. That's partly why.
Yeah,
it really does inform materialistic sort of, because I don't take anything with just that kind of a weird.
Well, strict materialism, in my opinion, has problems, but strict idealism, like, I'm sorry.
Right.
That just makes me angry.
Materialism and I am very, very strictly materialistic. That's okay. No one has to be as completely materialistic and not just like non.
I was thinking about this actually, and I think one of the biggest problems going on in the world right now is that strict materialists, of whom there are many, and I have been one. Okay, I'm not disrespecting that position, but I've been like, y'all don't take seriously the fact that other people actually believe the shit that they talk about.
Well, I do. I believe that.
Okay,
people
not you
that.
personally.
I just know that's wrong.
I'm not right. Yeah. No, not you personally, but I've noticed that like people who tend to be like, listen to that crazy shit they're saying. Anyways, no, they actually believe that shit and they're going to act on it and they're going to do something insane. You should prepare yourself for that. It's the last couple of years that taught us anything.
Too, that it has more to do with wanting to feel superior.
Oh yeah,
and intellectually more advanced. So it's just almost like a it's almost sort of like a like what's it called? There's a term for it. Some sort of complex, superiority complex or whatever.
Yeah.
Inferiority complex thing going on there, which I don't really know if it's. I think that's more to do with.
Yeah. No, you can totally be
a dick. Stop being a dick.
Right. You don't need to believe in God to be a nice person. Basically.
Exactly. Yeah. If you believe in God and if you're doing it in a way that works for you, that it humbles you and you're helping your community, I don't see anything wrong with that.
No, but on the other hand,
historically speaking, on historical materialism, know what it is meant to do and what it's meant to propagate.
Right.
And that it's bullshit, but that's okay. If it's helping and works with you in your community and it makes you feel like that helps with your morality or whatever, all the more power to you. I just don't believe that.
No, right. And but to say that having faith makes a person more moral is absurd.
Yeah. Exactly.
So
that's not true.
And I guess
the morality thing should really be based on someone's actions in the material world.
Right.
If you're a real materialist, that's how you should see it.
No, yeah, right. There are strong arguments in materialism for, egalitarianism. Yeah.
Totally.
And that was why it, I think, came into fashion in the first place during the Enlightenment or whatever it was, right? Because they were like, holy shit, we can use science to make our lives better. How about that?
Right? Yeah, it's really, yeah. They wanted faith but see, that's the thing. They wanted faith for everyone else, not for them.
Oh.
So they propagated it more too. So that is also very predatory and not just a materialist sort of inherent thing. That's more of a deficient humanity thing.
Right, yeah. I was going to say, they wouldn't be the first people to use religion to manipulate the masses. It's almost just like they took the baton, right? They
well, yeah.
That's great.
That's what I think religion's for. I think religion was made for that. For a way to propagate people. That's all I think it is.
Yeah.
But and to also explain things which could not explain, but usually to the more detriment to the poor, and to the benefit of a certain caste system within their own region.
Right. Well, society. It always explains them in this really convenient way.
Right.
Yeah.
Your mic or whatever scratching when you move.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. That's
There.
okay.
I think it's over here. That's what I get for
Yeah.
wearing clothes.
Yeah,
Jeez.
she just be naked.
Yeah.
She's out there free like a bird. Actually, when it
Yeah, it
comes to
would be
clothes, I've been
freezing.
really looking into a lot of the whole issues with like this whole apparel and clothing issue, right? With all this new fast fashion really getting like almost like a race to the significant race to the bottom in like production and like the protection laws against chemicals and
Really?
environmental damage. Yeah, is like just just kind of fell into that, started looking into that more. I'm like, oh Jesus, what another
Hey,
way for me to be
Scott.
more pessimistic.
That sounds
Well,
like
that's nice,
fun. Yeah. What a
right? I'm
fun
like,
rabbit
there's
hole.
here we go, another rabbit hole for me to just really start to hate everything. Why?
I
I'm like,
think you should
oh,
consider your mental health.
I know, poor mental health, my poor brain
And
keeps
winter's
getting
coming,
broken.
Oh my goodness. I'm not.
Like all
I'm
the
not joking.
greenwashing going on and just like everything. And
Uh,
like it is really bad when okay, something is still crinkly. Yeah.
there.
There you go.
Is that better? Okay.
Yeah.
Look at my collarbone. Look at that. Look at that.
Look at that. But yeah, no, just like looking into all that greenwashing and all like the whole mass production of the fast fashion like industry that really kind of took off after COVID. And I didn't realize how many like actual like just brands like from regular to like really high designer has actually aren't actually the designer anymore or brands or really what they are. They've all been like sort of they all went bankrupt and were picked up by equity firms.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
moving
They've
on
all
that,
been
I'm like,
hollowed
well,
out.
that's
Everything has been hollowed out. It's so weird.
yeah. And now we're flooded with all this shit, this crap that's
Yeah.
like this grossest, like plasticky crap that is just so bad. I'm just like, oh, depression setting in. Like,
Well, you know what? Yeah, no, the depression is literally setting in. Apparently, the economy is looking very bad,
yeah,
and so
yeah,
we're on. And,
yeah,
and a year from now, no one will be able to buy clothes, and everything they will have bought will be falling apart.
yeah. They'll be like going to the like different and they'd be going to like walk the beach and just grabbing up a whole bunch of like fucking thrifted apparel that comes to the shores. They're already doing that in the third world. Why wouldn't that come here? Of course it's going to.
Well, I'm in Tennessee, so nobody walks to the beach to do shit.
Well, you're screwed then.
I guess we are. We're all gonna be walking
You'll
around
just be
naked
running
after
around
all.
naked.
Look at that.
You
Yeah,
will be.
it's a good thing it's warm here most of the year.
That's good. That's good for it. Yeah. That's not bad then.
Yeah, yeah.
It's better than probably wearing a lot of the plastic shit that they're producing right now. Actually, it's probably better for your health.
Yeah. Oh my god. I haven't bought new clothes in like for the most part in a while anyway.
Oh, I hardly ever. Like I did buy Sarah McLachlan t-shirt at the concert. But
Well,
I think
that's
hers was fully cotton, like 100% cotton. So you know what? Fine, that's fine. At least that's that. But yeah, even things like if looking on tags of like even going when you go thrift stores, so much polyester, acrylic, just
yep,
crap.
yep.
And like the history with that in DuPont, like the chemical producer after the war. Ooh, you can deep dive there.
DuPont
Right?
is super evil. Just the name makes me shiver. Like, ugh.
I know. Right? This is what I'm saying. Depressing.
Yeah,
And knowing like all these garment factories, what they're like, how they're so like not transparent and what they're doing to subsequently have no laws in their manufacturing processes of all these chemicals in all these third world countries for our market, in which it's just producing so much crap that are just getting thrown away, right? Fast fashion, one and done. It's sad.
When does Cole get home? In about 45 minutes. Yeah. Have you done your clay yet today?
No.
Red Blaren, nice.
Yeah, that's And Scott says, sunny and breezy out there. DuPont was a French immigrant, came to the U.S. and founded his own.
Wait, what's Scott's last name?
Yeah, there's a
Bridge.
book all about the DuPont history that was actually banned, but it was again sort of taken up by the sort of banned book publishers which published lots of these blacklisted books and banned books, political ones. And I have one about the whole DuPont history and stuff, which is really interesting. And we're actually getting, I think, pretty close to the end of the book.
I'm gone.
Oh, you're gonna go play over there as soon as the bus comes, huh? Okay.
Let's take a look.
He's so unhappy because none of the kids in the neighborhood are home from school yet because he got to come home early today.
Oh, that sucks.
I know, how awful for him, right?
I hear the I farted.
Yeah. No, I'm not using your cuteness for clout. I'm not doing it. No. Owen, go in the house.
I just want to say hi.
No, go inside.
Why can't I say hi?
I just told you why. No.
Just because
So
I'm
cute
doesn't mean I can't say hi. Right?
I'm not, I don't want to put you in my videos. No.
You're filming a video?
Yes.
Yeah, you shouldn't be a predators.
Seeing that rural background almost reminds me of Anne of Green Gables on Prince Edward Island. That sounds really nice, but this is just my neighborhood.
This is just my neighborhood.
This is my neighbor's backyard back there. She has a nice deck. Look at that. Look at that nice deck, you know.
But as I was saying, we actually only have 2
Go in the house.
Left. I just want to say.
No. Go in the house.
So,
as you were saying,
we only have 2 chapters left of this book, by the way.
Wow.
So
okay.
Yeah. So, I was looking at a few books about the techno-feudalism or whatever, or techno-fascism.
Okay.
Which one would be more appropriate if we want to do that one, or if we want to take a break. I don't know. We'll figure that out. Yeah, we're getting close to the end of this. So.
Okay. What do we need to ask ourselves? What are we going to be reading over Christmas? And I was thinking in December of doing a regular live stream too, around when the day the video comes out, whenever that is.
That'd be fun.
I need to decide when that is, and yeah. So then you don't have to. You can show up for that one if you want to, but you don't have to help me out with that. Where I just kind of sit and talk to people.
Mostly just depend on what my schedule is like. Yeah, if you want me to join, I can join.
Okay. It's nice to have somebody to talk to.
Yeah, instead of just talking to a screen by yourself, it feels weird. As like someone
really
from
does.
The millennial area, it still feels weird to be doing that.
Yeah, no, it does still feel really weird. Yeah, and then we could interact with the comments, but like chit chat about whatever, and we always keep it interesting. I love the topics that and I feel like we come at it from 2 different angles enough so that we have a pretty interesting discussion. I
think we do. Yeah, and where we can discuss contradictions with each other, and which is fine.
Right.
I see no problem with that with you, which is nice because a lot of times people get really offensive, or of their own beliefs, and they sort of
insecurity. I don't know.
But I like talking things out, even if someone does not agree with me at the end. It doesn't matter.
Sometimes I change my mind on something.
Because sometimes it's good to express it out loud to kind of really sort of tangle with your ideas, right?
Yes. And sometimes I change my mind about stuff.
Yeah, that happens. Exactly.
Yeah. So, yeah, okay. Like I say, that'll be not on Christmas, obviously, but probably within a week before that, because the last one was on October 20th, so we're looking towards the end of December.
Mm-hmm.
I need to look at my calendar, and of course, I don't have it right now.
That's okay.
Yeah,
We
we're
don't
gonna
have to
do
wait
this
right now because
in
so
2 weeks. Because in 2 weeks it will be December.
That is crazy.
I know.
This is what I mean. Time is going too fast. I can't keep up.
Yeah, we did so. So yeah, that's when we're looking at coming back, and then I guess 2 weeks after that will be the video premiere, whichever day that is exactly.
Yeah.
And that works out actually. So we will be doing one reading in December and then a live stream. I mean, we can do both if you want. Both.
We can figure that out.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just kind of spitballing here because I hadn't thought this far through yet.
That's okay. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm cool. I'm chill. Whatever you want.
Okay.
So I'm no help.
Well, so that's what I'm thinking. So we're going to skip next week, obviously, because we do it every other week anyway, and that's Thanksgiving here, so that would be awkward anyway. So the first week of December, we're looking at the first week of December, and then the third week of December, which is probably the week before Christmas.
Mm-hmm. I don't have my calendar either with me, so I can't.
Do you want me to go grab it? I can literally go grab it.
Just sure, go grab it.
It's right here in my bag. Oh, we're looking at calendars, trying to make plans.
You got to make sure to keep your the mic away from your collar, hon.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
Get naked.
No, this dress. Who knew this dress was going to be so like?
Yeah.
It's super modest. I don't. Yeah. So looking at Wednesday is the 3rd of December and the 17th.
Okay.
Which is a week out from Christmas. Yeah.
So do you want to just wait till after then to do think about making another story, doing another reading
After Christmas?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, that would put us.
Yeah. And then we'll figure out when after Christmas, and we can do a live stream sometime around Christmas instead.
The Wednesday after that is literally New Year's Eve. So, like that works for me. I never go out on New Year's Eve. That sounds fun.
Neither do I. I don't care about it. It's a good New Year. Yay!
That just sounds good.
Well, actually, things are going. I don't know if I want it to come.
I don't know. Everybody's always off from everything and home for 2 or 3 weeks at a time that time of year, and it's so dark and cold, and we're all stuck in this tiny little shoebox, and I don't know. Something to celebrate. It sounds like fun. You know.
I mean, I get food. We pig out.
Well, there you go. No, but so okay. And the kids always want to stay up until midnight.
Oh shit! I don't even stay up until midnight. Like, I mean,
right, I struggle to do that anymore. I do.
Right? I'm like, I haven't done that in forever.
Oh my god, they always want to do that. Anyway. So we have the 3rd. We could do a live stream on the 3rd, and then the 17th, I'd probably have the video up and do one for that.
Okay.
So. Mm-hmm.
That works.
Oh my god, I need to film this week.
Yeah, they'll also give you time to sort of cultivate which, because there's a few books on the subject, right? And I want to see kind of go through which ones I think would be more poignant. I might even read it beforehand just to see if it's any good. You live, Scott. You live in Eastern Canada, right? Something like that.
I think he lives out west, like you do. If I remember, Washington State. I think I want to say he said that a minute ago, but I knew that anyway.
Never mind.
No, he comes in and you know, puts in all the hyper details. Okay. Yeah, just hyper detailed comments, and I do my best to remember them, read them, and remember them. I really do.
With all engagement, love the engagement.
Right. Yes, exactly. And I always want to encourage that. You know, it's not like dumb shit. You know, like some people come along and just spurt dumb shit. Not that. No, at all.
You know what? It's interesting. You've had quite a few bots. Like
Yeah.
weird bots throughout this reading, which is weird.
Really? Throughout this reading?
Not this one particularly, but like throughout like the book, the reading process, right?
Yeah.
Through episodes. Yeah. Considering, like, I mean, there's not many like people here. At least when we were first reading it, and like, there's the one engagement would be like a bot once in a while.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And that's weird because a lot of the time they don't come into like smaller channels like this. They do that with the bigger ones.
Wonder if that means anything.
It means that we'll just fight the man. I don't know.
Yeah. Damn the man. All right.
Or whatever the fuckery. Slogan.
Yes. Yeah. Insert slogan here. Yeah. All right.
All right. Well, I think that's probably good for today. I'm tired. I might go back to bed actually.
Oh, okay. I totally take naps a lot lately myself. I've been fighting fatigue since last year, really.
I've been napping for a while, for a few years now. I love a good nap. I really do. I'm so old.
Hey,
I love it.
I'm not. I don't enjoy it. I just don't want to be tired.
Well, I think it's just nice sometimes to go and like just curl up in a comfy bed in the middle of the day and just relax.
Well, yeah. I mean, sometimes. Yeah. I think some people are nap people and other people are not nap people.
Yeah, I'm a nap person. I love a good nap. I'm not gonna lie. I love it.
And more power to you,
I wish I could do that. I wish I didn't get tired throughout the day, that I could stay up fine. But a lot of times, especially around afternoon, is usually when I start to hit the brick wall, and I'm just like,
oh, right. Right, yeah, no, around 2:00, I run just like that stereotype a lot of days.
Yeah, that's around the time when I'm like,
yeah.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Yeah, I love to nap. I don't love the fact that I have to nap, but I do love it when I do it, if you know what I mean. But yeah, I don't know why. I'm tired pretty early right now. Maybe I don't know. Not used to getting up so early again for you. Is what it is, probably.
Well, thank you. We all appreciate you.
Aw, thanks. So yeah, I'm gonna be off, and I'm gonna go nap.
All right.
All right.
Cool beans.
So
I'll see you on the 3rd.
The 3rd. Okay, I'll write that down. All right.
All right, cool.
All right. Bye.
Bye, honey. Have a nice nap. All right. Scott says it's siesta time. Yeah, we've been at this for 3 hours. So I'm going to have to agree with her that I am tired of this. Anyway, I'm tired of sitting here. I mentioned I have trouble sitting still. So let me go run off and see what that kid is doing. His brother's still not home yet. Eat lots of T-Day turkey. Yeah, you too. Happy Thanksgiving, Scott. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody who celebrates it and everybody who doesn't. I hope you have a good day that day. I hope you have a good time until we come back, which I guess will be on the 3rd of December. Look for the video next month. I guess I just said it's going to be probably the 17th of December. So that's the week before Christmas Eve. So that'll be fun. Which be simulation theory. That's what I gotta do this week, you guys. I gotta get that shit. I gotta finish my script, which I've been working on for this week, and I will, get that tightened up and get that shit filmed. So I would say wish me luck, but you're not supposed to say that when you're doing. You're supposed to tell me to break a leg, and I don't necessarily want anyone to say that. But yeah. Thank you, Scott, for hanging out, and anybody who else is still here, and anybody who's watching. Thanks so much, you guys. Watch this space. See you next time. At 1 p.m., General Hospital will come on here. Oh, well, you got to get away for that. You got about 45 minutes, though. You got time to go walk the dog or something. I'll see you guys later.